Więc zaczynajmy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Jest git.
Day 2 of Gamescom Studio is here. It's the biggest gaming event in the world, and Gamescom Studio gives you a front row seat for all the biggest and best the show has to offer. Coming up today, brand new gameplay and deep dives into the hottest upcoming games. We'll be getting hands-on with Mortal Kombat 1 and Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. We'll be getting hands-on with RoboCop Rogue City and Xbox head Phil Spencer.
What's up, everybody? This is IGN Live at Gamescom.
And you can expect plenty more sights and sounds from the show floor as the doors open to the public. So sit back, relax, and prepare yourself because Day 2 of Gamescom Studio live on IGN kicks off right now.
Hello and welcome back to Day 2 of Gamescom Studio powered by IGN. I'm Stella Chung along with my good pals Max Scoville and Damon Hatfield.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
All day right here on Gamescom Studio, we've got tons of brand new games, exclusive reveals, interviews with the people making the coolest games on Earth, and tons of kick-ass gameplay.
If you want to stay up to date with everything going on at Gamescom, whether you're here in person or watching from home, you can find up-to-the-minute info by heading to now.gamescom.global.
You can also stay up to date by following the official Gamescom social media accounts on your platform of choice. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitch, YouTube. Gamescom is literally everywhere.
Yep. We've got some great coverage lined up for today. First up, we got RoboCop, Rogue
A,
City,
Robocop,
which I
Mortal,
checked out.
Cyberpunk
First-person
znowu
shooter
i
based on
Phil
the
Spencer.
tale of a cop who's also a robot. You probably could have figured that out. Then there's Mortal Kombat 1, which is a reboot of the timeless fighting game in which multicolored ninjas brutally murder each other in hilariously elaborate ways.
And later on, we'll be taking a look at Cyberpunk 2077's upcoming expansion, Phantom Liberty, which not only tells a brand new story, but also brings a ton of improvements to the original base game.
Yeah, I'll be doing that interview. And we even convinced Phil Spencer to come back and let us ask him more hard-hitting and, honestly, probably annoying questions about what it's like being in charge of Xbox.
There are a ton of massive AAA
A to w sumie to można by było skipnąć, więc w sumie mamy tylko 3.
more independent ones at the Gamescom Indie Arena booth. Over 150 devs and studios from 30 different countries show off tons of incredible games.
That's just a portion of this massive event, and luckily we've got teams running around non-stop checking out the show floor. Let's see what's going on out there.
Hey everybody, Seth Macy at Gamescom, IGN.com. I am here with Matt Purslow. Matt, where are we?
We are in Hall 6.
Hall 6. Where are you going?
I am going to see where winds meet.
And what do you plan to do there?
I plan to play this game and figure out what the hell it is.
Yeah, I have no idea.
We saw it at Gamescom last year and we've not seen any of it since. I am excited to see. It's a game with swords. I like swords.
Okay, are you expecting some surprises?
I am expecting to be surprised. It looked a bit Ghost of Tsushima when we saw it last year. I want to know if that's what it is or if it's some weird surprise that we weren't expecting.
Awesome. Well, let me know how it is when you get out. We'll be grabbing you off the floor and telling you about it. For everything else on Gamescom all this week, keep it right here on IGN.
There's plenty of stuff to check out. Max, yesterday you had a chance to play RoboCop, right?
No, they didn't let me play it, but I did get to talk to somebody who did.
I'd buy that for $1.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me. Can you fly, Bobby? Check
Dead or alive. Pięknie.
Hey everybody, Max Scoville here. We're at Gamescom 2023, and I'm with my esteemed colleague Alex Simmons, who just got a chance to play RoboCop Rogue City. What did you make of it? It's a RoboCop game, but is it fun?
Slow is the main thing. Like, RoboCop is super methodical in how he moves. He doesn't run about like you would normally do in a shooter. He doesn't really use cover like you would normally do in a shooter. He's a bullet sponge that just walks into the middle of the firefight, gets shot from every direction, but equally, he's RoboCop, so he dishes out loads of death, I guess.
It seemed I got to watch you play a bit. It seemed good on a lot of levels, but I do have some questions and some hesitation. He's got his iconic sidearm, which is an awesome gun. Can you use other guns?
So you can. Like, the Auto 9 is his main weapon, and you can upgrade it a lot to have armor piercing, explosives, etc. But you can pick up grenade launchers and you can pick up other weapons. But frankly, I didn't have to. Like, we played a new level of the game, which is very much combat focused. It's about a third of the way into the game, and throughout 15 minutes, I think I died once. And that was my own mistake because I forgot to pick up a battery, which is a health pack in the game. And so it's almost like RoboCop is invincible. And if you've got this great gun, why do you need a grenade launcher?
Yeah, it's sort of I don't know, it's a little bit of a quandary there. Now, something that strikes me as interesting is this is also adding some like crime-solving elements, some puzzle elements, some branching narrative elements. Can you talk about those a little bit?
So they hinted at it, but they've not really shown exactly what it means. There's one part in this level where you find a perpetrator and you give them a choice. You can either show your empathy side, your human side, and let them off with a caution, or you can be RoboCop, give them a ticket. Now, the dev has hinted that that has much bigger implications later in the game, to the point where it affects endgame. But for me, all I saw was somebody being just a little bit hacked off with me, few swear words, and off they went.
Now, this is the same studio that did Terminator Resistance, which, again, was a thing that could have probably just been a straightforward shooter, but it had a bunch of surprisingly ambitious RPG elements.
Yeah.
It had romance options, very sexy
Co?
ones. A lot of
Opcje
people don't
romansu
know that.
jest w Terminator?
I feel
God
like
damn
they're
it.
taking a similar
Siema,
approach
Magnum.
here. There was a whole bomb defusal sequence, which was like felt like almost a Resident Evil puzzle.
It's super simple. It is like, you know, which wire is the one to cut before it blows your face off. And again, they've hinted that there's way more stuff like that. This was combat, and there's going to be a lot more investigation. You know, RoboCop's not really known for his investigation. It's dead or alive, you're coming with me. But apparently he does go out there, he looks for clues, evidence. I've not seen any of that, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. No, it's sort of quizzical. This game is supposedly coming out very, very soon. So I'm you know, skeptical, but kind of curious at the same time. It's also an Unreal 5 game. Like,
Yeah.
It's one of the first
ale dostał w twarz.
wave of, you know, more advanced, more polished games to come out. What was your takeaway on sort of the technical side of it?
So it looks gorgeous, and like obviously RoboCop himself is super pristine. You know, you can't fault that side of it at all. Even when he's going through the mission and he's shooting stuff, the destruction looks great. It's got that 80s jank, and I don't know if that's on purpose or whether it's just how the game is developed, but it feels authentic. Because the dialogue, even that, is super cheesy.
There was one instance where you shot a guy in the crotch, and his animation falling over was like excessively drawn out, and I was like, that's some Verhoeven stuff right there. That's spot on.
Well, I would buy that for $1.
Yeah, I would buy that for $1. I was really impressed. Also, the destruction physics were really cool. Like everything was just getting blown apart. Like just a ton of that.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. Obviously, you've got your Auto 9, but you can use anything that you come up in against the game. In this one level, there were these bikers that were attacking me, moving super fast, hard to shoot. But being RoboCop, you can just pick up like a dustbin, throw it out.
Slow-mo, nice.
And then when they're off, you can then pick up the bike and then throw the bikes at the bikes.
That's the part that got me kind of interested. Like, because I think again, like it's RoboCop has his strengths, literally and otherwise, and his weaknesses. And again, the sort of the plotting approach is it's tank controls. You know, like he is kind of tanky, and it's. Now they mentioned, I think, you know, you can pick up other weapons. You mentioned the grenade launcher.
Yeah.
I feel like he does get the big 50 cal sniper rifle at some point in the movies, right? And
yes. And then at one point you do fight the guys that have got that. There was one bit where you go into a room where there are snipers, grenade launchers, and people with massive machine guns. You can go and pick them up, and you can use them if you want. But again, the Auto 9 was so powerful. I was like, hey, I'll just stick with this.
It's interesting. I'm curious to see where this goes exactly. Did they talk about lore at all, like where it takes place in the timeline?
So it takes place directly after RoboCop 2 and before 3. In terms of story, all we know so far is that obviously Rogue City is overthrown by these street vultures, which is this gang. And obviously there is this friction between OCP and RoboCop. Like, you go up against OCP in a lot of the levels, and if you do well, you get bonus points to go towards XP. If you don't, well, you're just going to be lowly Robo.
Interesting. Now, there's one mechanic that I thought was very, very authentic, where he could bust through walls and do sort of a breach mechanic.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Did that feel good? That's one of those ones you kind of need to do it yourself.
Of course, but it's exactly like, I guess it's the same thing that you would see in Call of Duty. You bust through a wall, everything goes into slow motion, you pop out the pistol, and then headshots all around. Yeah, it feels great. And I'd like to see more of that. I think that ultimately that was my takeaway. I kind of like what I've seen so far, or it's got me interested, but I want to see all the other stuff that's been spoken about. I want to see the investigation side. I want to see the differences that those choices make. And hopefully that will be in the next thing that we see.
Yeah, well, one way or the other, RoboCop Rogue City is coming out sooner than later, which is kind of shocking. Would you buy it for $1? We'll kind of have to wait and see, but we've got lots more coverage coming out of Gamescom, so stick around.
Czekaj, co on powiedział, że za $1?
Mortal Kombat 1 returns with the same blood-soaked, bone-crunching action we've come to expect from the series, but it's also got some new tricks up its sleeve. Here to tell me about it is Ed Boon from NetherRealm Studios. Welcome back to the IGN stage here, Ed.
Thanks. It's always great to talk to you guys.
So, just about a little less than a month out from the launch of Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat is really known for having these excellent story modes enjoyed by casual and hardcore fans alike. I think you guys are just the best at including story modes in your fighting game. When did that become important for NetherRealm? You know, over the course of Mortal Kombat's 30-year history, when did it become important for you to put all this extra time and polish into the story mode?
Actually, it was back in Mortal Kombat versus DC was the first time we did that. A lot of people think that it was Mortal Kombat 9 that we did it, but MK versus DC had it, and it was something that we really had to refine, you know, getting a lot of the stuff under the hood going as far as having it to function. But with each version that we've done, it's been more and more well received by players, and so we've just each one we just kind of raising the presentation bar, and it's kind of become a staple with our games at this point.
Yeah, I agree. As someone who likes fighting games but isn't super good at them competitively, I love having a fun single-player mode to play through the game myself. So having reset the timeline with Mortal Kombat 11, what were some of the key stories that you wanted to revisit and recalibrate over the 30-year saga?
We actually wanted to revisit and recalibrate and reinvent everything. You know, the whole goal with making the Mortal Kombat 1 story was taking the existing characters that everybody knows and putting them in a brand new story, literally starting from a big bang that Liu Kang creates. And so it's a new story with familiar characters, and all the relationships we're trying to change around to be different and just kind of reintroduce all the characters.
Invasions are replacing the crypt this time around, which I think we saw some footage of just now. What can you tell us about this new mode for unlocking cool extras for your characters?
Sure. Like you were speaking about before, we've always...
No, tak się właśnie zastanawiam, kurde, ten Mortal. Ajajajajajajaj. Za 17 dni ludziskę.
You can almost think of Invasions as a board game that is multiple city blocks long. So the player is going from node to node, getting challenges, getting rewards, getting all of these different tasks they have to do. And they're also, it has an RPG element, so they're leveling up their character, they're getting them stronger, and it's probably the most reward-friendly part of Mortal Kombat 1. It had most of the rewards are just really buried in there, and it's a very long, extensive single-player experience that we upgrade with a new season about every 6 weeks.
That sounds great. I can't wait to dive into that. Now, you've had several betas over the past few months. What learnings have you taken from that?
Czy będę brał oponentów po twarzach? No pewnie tak. Znaczy na pewno bym grał kampanię, bo wiadomo, obvious, ale pewnie też bym pograł coś na multiku, nie? I byście mogli zobaczyć, jak warzywie, jak ja dostaję w pierdziele. No sądzę, że to będzie bardzo spoko motyw, nie? A tutaj widać jakiś tryb kampanii, bo jakieś levele i tak dalej, więc tutaj jakieś cuda niewidy mogą być, nie?
And there was just tons of constructive feedback that we got from players that, you know, it was invaluable to have those demos.
Now you've revealed, included in your upcoming downloadable characters are Omni-Man, Homelander, Peacemaker. For Homelander and Peacemaker...
Już widziałeś, co mi wystarczy.
The likenesses.
Oj tam.
Are the actors actually coming in to record any dialogue or any grunts for the characters?
We had J.K. Simmons coming in. We had John Cena, you know, so
John Cena
to get them excited enough that they know they know what Mortal Kombat is, and they come in, and it just adds that additional layer of like authenticity to get the voice actor in there.
Yeah, that's very cool. And then actually in a recent interview with IGN, you were talking about Omni-Man and Homelander. Even though the characters are actually fairly similar, you're going to make sure that they play very differently in the final game. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a number of people think of Homelander and Omni-Man as evil versions of Superman, right? And so they have super strength, they can fly, and they're that kind of category. But we're absolutely going to make them play differently. There's obviously a ton you can do with a character that can fly and is that strong.
No tutaj już mocno moim zdaniem przeciągają z tymi postaciami, nie? Ale no spoko. Zobaczymy.
And when it comes to designing fatalities, obviously it seems like you guys have no limits, like let's just go as crazy, as wacky as possible. But with characters like Homelander that are seemingly all-powerful, at that is that an extra challenge, or do you have to actually show some restraint at that point?
No. It's one of the easy ones. We're such fans of these characters, and we've watched the shows, and we love making, getting inspiration from some of the things that they've done in the shows and turning them into a fatality. So that's going to be a big part of that whole experience of playing those characters.
That's super exciting. Here at Gamescom, you announced new playable characters, Sindel and General Shao. What can you tell us about how they fit into the story?
Oh, well, they, in Mortal Kombat 11, we presented them like they were married, right? And they were absolutely aligned. It's much more, I don't want to give the whole thing away, but it's much more confrontational with them this time, and it is still about kind of struggle for power in that respect, but their situations are completely different from what they were in Mortal Kombat 11, which is the case with all of our characters. So there's definitely some headbutting between those two.
Then you also revealed 2 new cameo characters, Motaro and Shujinko. That's right. How do you like make the decisions? Okay, this is going to be a playable character. This one's cameo. This one's going to be both. How do those talks play out?
A lot of it is
endurance 3 przeciwników. Ciekawe.
Hard to control. As we had him playable, or we had him as a boss in
Generalnie ciekawy ten system jest.
And it's a character that is fun to see, but because of their shape.
Zdobywając poziomu powiększa nam się pasek życia, bo tu widzę pomiędzy Kung Lao a jakimś Junior Monk, który też wygląda jak Kung Lao, że max 825, a tu 1150, więc poziomy dają HP.
The cameo roster in general, most of them are unrelated to the story, so those are the novelties that we add. So characters that you haven't seen in a long time are just making these kind of cameo appearances.
Last question. With less than a month to go before Mortal Kombat 1, what's the one thing you're most excited about for players to discover with this game?
For me, it's the cameo fighters, but there's a ton of new things. The invasions is going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of secrets in there. This is Mortal Kombat. That's a big part of what we consider its signature is these secrets. But there's so much single player experience. More than we've ever put in a big game. To me, the cameo fighters is going to be what's really going to let players come up with new ideas, express themselves with combining their favorite fighter, and it's the mixing and matching of these main cameo fighters that I think is going to be the kind of like the sandbox that everybody's going to be playing in.
I'm super excited. Ed, thank you so much for coming by the IGN stage.
Thanks for having me.
Mortal Kombat 1 hits PS5, Xbox Series, PC, and Nintendo Switch September 19th. There's lots more Gamescom studios still to come right here on IGN.
Pięknie. Lecimy dalej.
The Cinefix Top 100. A list so secretive even we don't know what movies are on it or where they rank.
What do you mean you don't know?
Each episode will reveal one of the movies.
Did I rush it? Felt like I rushed. That was good. I liked it.
Talk about why it belongs and finally find out where it ranks.
Are you not entertained?
Are any of the movies we've shown here even on the list? I have no idea, and it drives me crazy. Join us as we find out on the Cinefix Top 100, Mondays starting July 3rd.
Why so serious?
Hey you.
Yes, me. Reklamy, możemy sobie przypominać.
Gameplay exclusives and all the entertainment.
Gaming and
who knew?
Zresztą to parę minut na plus, nie?
Hey everybody, Seth Macy here for IGN. I'm at Cities in the Sky here at Gamescom. I'm about to sit down in a gamer chair and then they're going to lift me 50 meters into the sky on a crane. For Americans, that's about 150 feet in freedom measurements. Yeah, this is going to be interesting, and I'm going to be playing City Skylines 2 while I dangle in the sky over a city. So it's extremely literal.
A może coś innego pokażą.
Yeah, here we go. We're going into the sky. I'm gonna play a video game at 150 feet in the sky. It's normal. It's just a normal thing. It's just a normal day. Wow, there's still more. We're still going up more. I think we've come to a stop. All right, let's take a look.
Teraz telefon, spada mu.
Okay, right now we're spinning around, and I tend to get a little motion sick when I'm reading things and I'm also moving. Thankfully, I'm just gonna play the demo of City Skylines 2. Gaming time in the sky. Let's go! Hey, look, it's me. The sun is directly behind me, as is the Dom. What's up, Dom? So it's kind of hard for me to see my screen. So I'm just gonna I guess I'm just gonna enjoy the fact that I'm 150 feet up in the sky on a beautiful day in Cologne. Well, I just came down from my City in the Sky adventure, where I was building a city literally in the sky in City Skylines 2. Please, I'm proud to present Skytown, USA. Center of industry, a center of commerce, a few houses. You know, I wasn't as nervous as I thought I was gonna be, but there were a couple times where something would clang and I'd be like, whoop, whoop, then I just lost my cool. But then I'd try to compose again. But yeah, I was dangling my feet, I was having a good old time. Being 50 meters in the air on a beautiful sun-filled day in Cologne, Germany is less than optimal, because what would happen is I would spin around and then the sun would completely obscure the view of my beautiful city in the sky. I would love to do this again. We were quite an attraction. People were beeping at us, yelling at us. Everybody was having a good time. I think everybody was having a good time. I can't say that for a fact. I was having a good time. But yeah, I would absolutely do this again. You know what the only thing that was missing was? A big old steak. I want to play a video game and eat a big old steak in the sky.
Jakie wymagania jeszcze nie, ziomek. Steak.
Hello, Night City, and welcome to this special news update on Cyberpunk 2077's upcoming expansion, Phantom Liberty. Joining me to help us deep dive into what to expect for this expansion is Phantom Liberty director Gabriel Amatangelo at CD Projekt Red. Hey, good to see you again.
Hi, you as well. Hi, everyone.
Okay, so I want to talk about the levels, because obviously we're getting into a completely new town and new area in Cyberpunk. Yeah. So tell me about it. How many buildings can we go into? Are there lots of little secrets hidden around?
Dogtown. So yeah, so Dogtown is ruled by Kurt Hansen, and he is sort of a de facto colonel from the new United States, and he seized the area, and so he kind of rules it with an iron fist, if you will. He's like a militia leader, and he exploits with various different weapons dealing and trading. And other black market goods, and some of which the players can get a hold of. So generally speaking, we wanted it to have sort of an oppressive feel. So you see his militia, his units around, and you kind of are on edge. The communities are, ruled strictly, if you will. But at the same time, the NCPD and the corpos are not allowed there. So it's a place that some, unsavory characters escape to. So it's a rougher area.
Could we be one of those unsavory characters?
Certainly, it's a role-playing game after all. You can, and I think we talked about a little bit last time. if you start committing crimes or getting out of order in that area, he will send his units after you. And it can escalate, escalate, escalate. And they can bring out, you know, APCs, vehicles with mounted weapons, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so we have new footage here. So kind of run me through what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, so this is our gameplay trailer, and right now we're seeing Dogtown at the beginning when you actually, I'm sorry, this is in the story, right after the plane gets shot down, like we saw in the story trailer, and exploring the kind of destruction that it caused in the way. We're getting into a vehicle right now and gonna head to the crash site where you're gonna start to see some of Kurt's militia kind of trying to lock down the area, and you're going to have to tread carefully.
Yeah, so we see some vehicular gameplay here, obviously, but vehicle combat is a big addition to Phantom Liberty. And how did that influence the streets and the quests of Dogtown?
Yeah, so I mean, you can, as you're going from location to location, let's say quest spot to quest spot, along the way there's a lot of dynamic events that can happen. For example, I said that he deals with some black market goods. There could be some airdrops or some caravans, and you can intercept them, and there's an emergent encounter that happens from it, and you can get some loot, find some goodies, that kind of stuff, and you can do it on foot, you can do it in your vehicle, you know, pull out an SMG, you can do, you know, drive-bys on your bike and slash them with your katana blade. And so there's a lot of emergent sort of activities and events that happen throughout.
That's awesome. So what will players get if they do intercept one of those airdrops? Do they get a new weapon?
They can. You can get various new weapons. You can also get different kind of upgrades, skill shards, things of this nature. It's kind of a surprise. You know, it's a RPG.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah. So
and I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's also little story segments and stuff as well that you can find in it. Some Easter eggs.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. So there's a big push for you to want to go and grab those airdrops then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So previously, the lead level designer did talk about wanting to reward the players the maximum choice and effort and reward from discovery and exploration. So does Phantom Liberty increase the amount of freedom of choice for players?
In so many ways. Like I was saying, the kind of freedom of choice of just exploring the world and having emergent encounters, there's a lot of different, like as the story progresses, different things happen in the story, and I don't want to give away any Easter eggs, but you can find little pieces and props and things that kind of support different events that kind of happen off screen, if you will.
Okay.
And as far as the player characters, we revamped the skill system, and so now there's so many different ways that you can kind of fulfill your fantasy on how you want to play as a cyberpunk with new cyberware and stuff like that. So I think that's along the lines of what he was speaking to before. Yeah.
I love that we're watching this gameplay and just hearing that alert noise. It brings back so many good memories for me. I love it.
Right on.
So what was the biggest challenge you faced with creating Dogtown?
Oh, well, trying to strike the balance between having that kind of oppressive feel, if you will, and that danger, and also encouraging exploration. We think we struck a good balance with how you can kind of get in and out of encounters and all the different tools you have now to escape. For example, air dash, and the new, you can cloak and get out of combat, a lot of different stuff like that. But I would say that was probably the biggest challenge in the overall kind of level design of it.
Okay, yeah, and I think previously when we talked, you said that travel here would be pretty seamless, right? Being able to get from one part of town to Dogtown, right?
Oh, yeah. So at the beginning, you approach a very sort of intimidating gate, and there's a story sequence there on how you're going to get through it, and I don't want to spoil any of that. But as you get farther in, you're going to, because, you know, V as a merc have some fixer connections, you're going to get some connections to be able to pass in and out. But yeah, it's contiguous from the beginning of the story. It's contiguous all the way in, and then as you want to come and go, and you can go back into base game quests, back into Phantom Liberty quests. You can go back and forth at your leisure.
Okay, so if you were to recommend this to a new player, would you say, hey, play through the main story first, or would you say that they could play this and then also incorporate Dogtown in, you know, their full playthrough?
I mean, the most fun is definitely both parts, but we are introducing so much in 2.0 that you get for free, you know, without...
For free, ludziska, za darmo.
the best time to come back. I mean, I don't know how else to answer that. There's so much. I could go on forever. There's so much I can speak to of what specifically in 2.0 versus Phantom Liberty. I don't know if we want to get into that, but I could.
I mean, yeah, no, what are your favorite parts of 2.0 that you're very excited for players to get their hands on?
Yeah, so I mean, well, the police system and how that is very organic and has, like, you know, it escalates to where, like I was saying, at certain points they'll start bringing out the big guns, vehicle combat. You can get into a fight with MaxTac. There's 5 different MaxTac archetypes. You know, 4 of them come down in an AV at once. They can hack your vehicle and stop you. This is probably the part I'm the most excited about. But then again, no, I mean, I'm equally as excited about all the new ways you can play, the new skill trees. Like, you can be a Terminator now, right? Like, you can pick up a heavy machine gun, and now you can just, like, like this when you're shooting it, and now you can, like, steady shot it. You can pick up bodies and throw it at people. You can just, yeah. You can leap and smash. You can push your cyberware to limit and get into a fury mode, very much inspired by David and Edge Runners. And, you know, your health starts going down, but the more you press your attack in that build, the more you're getting your health back. So it's a new way to play right in the mix of the action. We still have the traditional, you know, cover fire and stuff like that, but we got new AI, new mechanics. The Netrunners have a new way. The Netrunner NPCs have a new way they come at you. They can proxy their hacks through devices. Like I said, I could go on for so long. There's so much new stuff to talk about.
Yeah, that makes me so happy to hear you get so excited, and I'm really excited. I feel like I'm just taking your energy and absorbing it, and I'm like, next month cannot come fast enough. Every time we talk, I just get more excited. So I do have to ask, obviously, last time we talked, this was going to be the last expansion for Cyberpunk. So is this going to be, I know you're going to have more mini updates for balancing and such, but is this pretty much the end of the big expansions for Cyberpunk and basically full steam on the sequel?
Yes. This is the last big expansion, and yeah, we'll have some smaller updates afterwards. But yeah, and then it's going to be Cyberpunk 2.
So excited. I feel like you're giving us so much with this, and now you're giving us a sequel? That's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so
sequel?
What is your favorite weapon that has come out from this next update?
Okay, so well, one thing to note, like, I'm terrible at remembering skill names and weapon names because we've changed them a few times through development. Okay. But there's the new sniper rifle, because this is like a Phantom Liberty is kind of very inspired by the spy thriller genre, and so there's a new sniper rifle that's a lot of fun. That's I want to leave it for discovery, but it's got some new features to it. That's one of them. That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
I'm very excited. I do love just feeling this power of a sniper rifle, right? Usually I like going guns blazing and, you know, just going in head first, but I'll take a sniper rifle. I'll play it slow, just for you.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, Gabriel, thank you so much. Gabe, thank you so much for joining us today. And I cannot wait to jump back into Cyberpunk 2077 and probably terrorize Dogtown. But that's okay.
And you can play it here at the convention.
Yes, I'm actually going to go do that after this. Yeah, perfect.
Oh, let's do it.
Well, Phantom Liberty will drop September 26th on PC, Xbox, and PS5. Stick around for more Gamescom Studio, powered by IGN.
One big surprise here at Gamescom was after the Starfield presentation, the Fallout TV show was showing.
Yes.
I have a terrible memory. What did we see during the short trailer?
Well, yeah, it was a surprise. As like Todd Howard presented it, and he said, this will never be released to the public, so we're here to tell you what we saw.
That's right.
The Fallout TV show, which I'm not going to lie, I forgot was on the way. Coming from Jonathan Nolan. Director, creator of Westworld, not creator of original Westworld, but, you know, the new TV show. And you know what? I think it looked quite good.
I do too. All the CG looked good. And I like the characters that they're focusing on. They had the involvement. They had all the right notes.
Yeah.
Right?
It had the right feel. It did say at the end 2024, so we can expect it next year, Prime Video. But there were some cool details for fans, I think. So the first shot of it reminded me quite a bit of Dune. So a bit like almost like a more urban Arrakis. It was like very, very dusty, sandy conditions with some little buildings popping out. And then the next shot you see is a vertibird coming in, I think, and the Brotherhood of Steel.
Several
vertibirds. And the Brotherhood of Steel just ominously walking towards camera, looking quite menacing.
Yeah. And they looked really good. Like, I don't think it was CG, maybe a little CG.
No, they look real
like
costumes.
practical.
Like it looked pretty practical, which, you know, Jonathan Nolan isn't Christopher Nolan, but he's his brother who loves practical effects. You know, they must share that sort of sentiment. But yeah, and what else did we see? We saw a vault open. I'm not gonna lie, I looked down while I was making notes. I didn't see that one, so you have to tell me what that looked like.
We saw a female character blocking the sunlight, and then we saw the iconic door opening sequence, and we assume that she went outside, but I didn't catch the vault number when we were watching it, but it had that, and then after that, there was a character, I think they're called ghouls in the game.
Yes,
right?
So yeah, it was a ghoul character, I believe played by Walter Goggins, if anyone knows that actor. I believe he's cast as a ghoul character in this show. He had like a cowboy hat. It reminded me a bit of John Hancock from Fallout 4. I don't know if it was meant to be him, but it was that sort of vibe of character. And what else did we see? We saw, there was one more thing I had in my head.
Lots of explosions.
Lots of explosions. That was the one, the nukes that caused the Fallout in the first place. Looks like a fairly present day thing. Didn't look very... Because obviously Fallout, a lot of stuff frozen in time from the 50s, 60s sort of era. This looks a bit more modern day, but it's always hard to tell.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that because one of the big aesthetics of the world are like the music, the radio stations, where it's all sort of old-timey.
I mean, I might have been wrong there. It was a long way away.
No, you're right. It looked modern.
Yeah, it did. And one thing we didn't see any Vault Boys, like any bobbleheads. Do you think we're going to be walking around? They're going to be walking around that TV show collecting bobbleheads?
Well, maybe it did open up with like the Fallout 3 style television, like with the tubes and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was barely a minute long, this teaser, and probably only about 8 shots fading up and down, and Amazon Prime television show. Yes, Prime Video, 2024.
Yeah, and
there's not really much more to say apart from we saw it.
Amazon has Invincible. They have
I believe they're doing the God of War show as well.
They're doing God of War.
So,
they have a lot of wins coming, so I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
Jonathan Nolan, you know, it's got all of the checkmark boxes.
It looked right. Until we, know the story, see some of the characters and the writing, we obviously won't know. But the feel of it and the music kind of felt right. They had the crackle of the Fallout logo at the end as well.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm into it.
I'm in also. I can't wait to see more. Simon, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. And for more on all things gaming, keep it right here at IGN.
Thank you.
Friday night home for one.
Be there.
No.
Be strong. Be fierce. Be better. Be winning. Be epic. Be you at Gamescom 23. Come and be everything at Gamescom 2023.
No i co teraz nam pokażą? Ghost Runner?
Max Scoville here with Stella Chung. We are at Gamescom 2023, and we just got a chance to go hands-on with one of this fall's most promising-looking sequels, which is Ghost Runner 2. Stella, what did you think?
Ghost Runner.
It's so awesome! I felt really bad because when we were in the room playing, I was the loudest person there, just like screaming and everything. It is so fun, guys. Like, I played the first game. This does everything the first game did, but way better.
Yeah, we talked to the devs a bit about it, and they said that this is more of an evolution than a revolution, which is frequently the case with, second video games, and they've definitely done a lot to sort of just keep things familiar, but also adding on a lot of new mechanics. And one thing they added that might seem like they're trying to make it easier actually adds a lot of variety, which is the ability to block, which of course also has a parry system to go with it. And this is by no means a Souls-like game, but this does add like a little pinch of Souls-like type combat to it. What did you like about that? Did that work for you?
Oh my god, yeah, I loved it. So it grants you a lot of precision with being able to parry it. You get a perfect parry and you're rewarded with an insta-kill, right? Which is great, especially for those heavier enemies that take
a few hits to go down. So it really rewards you for being as precise as you can be. Of course, you can just block, which is great, but you only get a few shots before you're killed, right? And you have to start all the way over at the beginning. So I do love that you're rewarded for being so good with the parry button. Love it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like the first one was very much, you know, it had some like Hotline Miami to it.
Yeah.
Like it was very much about like trial and error. You're trying to find that sort of that perfect flow, and this still has that, but it kind of gives you different options to how you want to approach something. And they've I feel like made the arenas larger to sort of reflect that. You know, inevitably they have got some new enemies in there. I asked if there were any sort of major changes to Jack, the main character, in terms of how he controls or moves.
No, mocno mobilna gra. Widzę. Coś tak ala Shadow Warrior.
React differently. Like enemies have, been some fine tuning to sort of how they approach you, which should add some fun challenge there. He'll have new abilities, like new skills on top of the ability to block and stuff. And it sounds like you're really going to be able to kind of really customize your loadout to a certain degree and approach situations, you know, shake things up a little bit. The other big thing they added is, of course, the motorbike, which is just dripping with wonderful cyberpunk DNA. It's got some like straight up on the nose Akira references. Like when it's first revealed, Jack just rips the you know, the tarp off it like Kaneda. There's a little Akira slide at the end there. Very good. I also love that the entire sort of dynamic of the whole thing has a bit of Judge Dredd to it. Like you're kind of escaping the big, you know, Mega City 1 tower, and you're gonna be going out in the outskirts. They said there's gonna be like sandbox areas where you're just like jetting around on your bike and you'll be able to hop off it, fight a bunch of guys, do some stuff like that. But the segment of bike stuff we got to mess with, which is really more you because I kind of tapped out early, but it almost felt like a shmup.
Yeah, oh my god, it's so good. Like, it's so cool, but it definitely makes you, my hands are so sweaty by the end of it because I was just like, oh my god, I have to not hit this, not hit that. And then at the same time, you have to press down the accelerate button, but also there's a boost button, which I have to use frequently. It's not like Mario Kart where like you can only use it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's an interesting approach because I feel like in racing games, like a boost it's a luxury. It's something you have a finite amount of. In this case, it's more of a necessity, but you're going so fast that it'll basically, it can be detrimental if you let off of it. And the thing you're doing is you're chasing after like another Ghost Runner, an evil Ghost Runner, and it almost felt like in an open world game, like a chase sequence where you have to keep a certain distance to them, and there's a little bar at the top of the screen that basically the more you slow down, the faster that shrinks. And the idea is you want to kind of just hold down that boost and keep within range of that other person. But of course, speed kills. So we wound up going down this whole sort of tunnel, which was just like.
Ależ gdzie tam? Prędkość zabija? W tej grze im szybciej, tym lepiej.
I was telling you that this game looks beautiful, and so much about this game is speed, being able to do things so precisely, so quickly. And it sucks because the world is beautiful, and it's still in Unreal 4, which was unbelievable. It's gorgeous.
Ooh.
And I'm just like, let me slow down and experience this, but you can't because it's go, go, go.
No, this is not a game about stopping and smelling the roses. But it's really cool to see the developers took what made the first game special and are just expanding on it and really growing on it. And, I'm excited to see how people respond to it. And the nice thing about it is, even if you suck, it's really fun to watch other people play it. And I think speedrunners are going to have a blast with this. That is out October 26th on, I think, old gen, new gen, and PC, something like that. We're dying to see more of it, but of course there are plenty of other games right here at Gamescom. We're going to check some of those out, too.
One does not simply walk into Mordor. Moria, on the other hand, is pretty straightforward. You just speak friend and enter. Here to tell us about The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, our friend, game director John Paul Dumont from Free Range Games. Welcome.
Thank you.
So you have a game that is about dwarves in Moria, mining. They're digging around, doing some stuff. People hear Lord of the Rings, they typically think the trilogy, but this is set in the Fourth Age. Mm-hmm. What does that mean in terms of lore? What are the stakes here? Because Sauron's dead. A lot of people have kind of, moved off to Florida, Grey Havens, what have you. So what's at stake, and what's kind of going on in Middle-earth as a
well, you hit on why we picked the story that we picked is what is the highest stakes. We knew we wanted to do dwarves and survival crafting because they're such perfect survival crafters. To them, there's no greater stakes than going back and taking their ancestral homeland.
Now let's talk about the sort of the crafting and the resources and crafting and all that work.
Well, the big thing is we jump right to forging, metalworking. These are the dwarves, after all. They don't just pick something up and use it. They make it themselves. So a lot of the game is mining. It's creating new alloys, discovering recipes for forged items that are ancient and older than they have right now in the Third or the Fourth Age.
Now I have to ask, we've seen some building in the trailer and the gameplay here, but One of the things, the bridge of Khazad-dûm is like not in great shape. Will you be rebuilding it?
That's one of the parts of the game. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Khazad-dûm, absolutely. Yeah, so what happens is Gimli puts out this call. His time on Middle-earth is starting to get towards the end, and he feels like we've got to go back and take Moria back and make it Khazad-dûm. And so he puts out a call to all the dwarves across Middle-earth, and they all gather. And then things happen as you get inside, and you start to learn what's been going on in the 70 years since the ring was destroyed.
Nice. Now you touched on Gimli. John Rhys-Davies was in the trailer. Can you talk a little bit about working with him?
He was great. John Rhys-Davies is back as Gimli in Return to Moria. So we're really excited. He is Gimli. No one else could be Gimli but John Rhys-Davies. And you just hear the voice and you immediately know, yes, this is it.
I love it. Now let's talk about the mines as a whole and sort of how the world is laid out. Can you just sort of give us a crash course? Like how deep is it going to go? I guess how's it going to change? Is part of it locked off, or is it just full on go anywhere?
Well, first it's a procedural generated version of Moria. So the key landmarks, the Dimril Gate in the east, the Holland Gate in the west, the Endless Stairs, those are all there where you would expect if you really love the lore and know about it. But everything in between is generated differently. So I'll play one game and you could play a different game, and the path I would take to get to the different story points is different each time.
Ooh.
Awesome. And yeah, this is clearly meant to sort of, you get different crews together. It's got four-player co-op?
On the Epic Store, we're going to be up to 8 players. Oh, wow. On PlayStation 5, we'll be 4 players at launch.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about sort of how the game scales and how it reacts to more dwarves rooting around, singing and making noise and all that?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a different experience depending on if you're playing solo or if you're playing with up to 8 players. So if you're playing 8 players, resources are going to be a lot more scarce. When the orcs inevitably decide that they've heard you're here and come to take you down, there's going to be not only more of them, but they're going to be harder, and they're going to start bringing trolls with them. If you're playing alone, there will be more resources, but it becomes a little scarier. A lot of what you have to do in the game is manage your light and your noise. So it's a darker game when you're by yourself.
Siema, Angela.
Tak. More like a crafting horror game than it is.
Gamescomy, a później Baldurek. Poza tym, że usłyszeliśmy, że prawdopodobnie sequel Cyberpunka 2077 będzie.
It's really about like making sure you're prepared and that you've got everything you need before you move forward.
Now, there was a little prompt that popped up where the dwarfs had inspiration and you had the option to start singing.
Yes.
Tell me what that does. Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, part of Lord of the Rings is the songs.
Oh, yeah.
Professor Tolkien spent a lot of time recreating the kinds of poems that would have.
No, a teraz mamy Władcę Pierścieni. Jakieś takie, nie wiem, czy to survival crafting game?
Have a mug of ale out, and even when you're in a very important historical place, inspiration can strike.
Bardzo dobrze. Znaczy, w sumie trochę im się nie dziwię, ponieważ Cyberpunk powstał na tym dedykowanym silniku od Redów i on jest dosyć stary, nie? Więc im się nie opłaca w sumie już nic nowego wydawać do Cyberpunka 2077. Dlatego Phantom Liberty jest ostatnim i jedynym DLC-kiem, który powstanie. Później nie przejdą na Unreal Engine 5 i elo, nie? I wtedy mają bardzo duże pole do popisu, nie? Nie oszukujmy się, faktycznie ten Red Engine 4 jest dosyć starą technologią, więc pewnie też im się nie opłaca inwestować w ten silnik, nie? Już więcej. Już lepiej wykupić licki na Unreal Engine 5 i mają takie obszerne toole do robienia gierek, że szkoda gadać.
Oh man, that is so much fun. Now let's talk combat and enemies. First big question is, like, a lot of people hear Moria, they think, the Balrog, but the Balrog is you know, not around these days. So what kind of stuff can we expect to see besides?
Well, the Balrog was a threat you needed someone like Gandalf to take out, and so to tell that story again would be telling Gandalf's story.
Right.
And we've been really excited to try to tell a new story. So many experiences in Lord of the Rings are replaying the Ring story, and we want to tell something completely different. So we have a different big enemy that you will eventually figure out what's going on, and that's a big surprise. So I don't want to spoil that. But throughout, you are going to fight orcs and trolls, and you're going to find out what the unnamed things are that gnaw deep below the bones of the mountain.
Ooh. Now, because it's procedurally generated, is it sort of a different surprise around every corner?
It is, yeah. You know, as you move through the story, it gets harder, and you need better stuff, and you progress from city and suburban kind of biomes into mines biomes, into what is down in the flooded areas, and then what are the darkest parts, and then on to eventually you get to the great city of Dwaradelf and these huge vistas. It's one of the fun things about the game is as you're going.
Mam ci podać jakiś tytuł gry na Unreal Engine 5, jakiejś większej? Nie mam bladego pojęcia, powiem ci szczerze. Aż tak mocno nie sprawdzałem.
It could be a camp of orcs ready to ambush you. It could be a giant city vista with waterfalls.
Jedynie gdzie mogę powiedzieć, że czekajcie, Hellblade na pewno? Senua's Saga będzie na Unreal Engine 5? Tyle kojarzę? A czy coś jeszcze? Nie mam bladego pojęcia, nie sprawdzałem.
This is a little bit of truncated so we could show the whole thing, but this is a group of dwarves descending way far deep. One of our deepest descents.
I'm very excited to check.
Nie wiem jeszcze, czy Stalker nie jest na Unreal Engine 5?
The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria hits PC and new-gen consoles later this year, but right now, more Gamescom Studio right here on IGN.
Making it easy. Was as hot as ours? Well, you need a peak year about the exclusive deals. All.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Robert and Paula from Fool's Theory, here to talk to them about a new RPG called The Thaumaturge. First question. What exactly is a thaumaturge, and what sets thaumaturgy apart from other forms of magic?
Well, I would say that thaumaturgy is different from other kinds of magic because of salutors, which are our specific, unique demons. And a thaumaturge is like a miracle worker, because a thauma is an ancient word from Greek, which means miracle. Yeah. So a thaumaturge can actually bond.
Nie no, Angela, to jest wiadomo, nie? Że potrzebują podobny silnik do GTA 6 albo coś w tym stylu, nie? Nie, ale aczkolwiek, wiesz, nic nie jest powiedziane, że Unreal Engine nie da rady, nie?
Interesting. So this game is set in early 20th century Poland. Can you tell me a little bit about sort of the intersection of the fantasy element and the historical context?
Right, so the game is set specifically in 1905, which is a time of certain social upheaval in the Russian Empire, because revolutions, social unrest, we have the war on the horizon looming somewhere as tensions grow in the West. So that we found that this setting is sort of an interesting place to set our game, as certain of these factors are motors for elements of the narrative. We as Poles know this part of history. Poland are under Russian partition, but we think that this is something new to a lot of people, because this is not such a popular historical topic, so it's worth to show it. Additionally, the city itself is an interesting setting for the game, as Warsaw now is a completely alien city to what it was before World War II, as the city was leveled almost completely in 1944 and then rebuilt from scratch. So we, when reconstructing this for the purpose of the game, had to use a lot of sources from
not something we could access physically, as in go and see the area, but we had to use photographs, we had to use postcards, descriptions, paintings, things like that.
Okay, that's really cool. Now, who do we play as? Who is the sort of player character, and what's their involvement in this?
We play as Viktor Szulski. He was born and raised in Warsaw, but then he had to leave somewhere else for some time.
For a couple of years.
And now he's back in the city to attend to some family matters and to basically learn more about his past, his relatives' past.
Now, I want to know.
Ale ja nic takiego Angela nie powiedziałem.
This is framed as like a morally ambiguous RPG, and obviously people hear, RPG, that can mean a lot of things. That can mean you hit the enemies and numbers fly off. It can also mean that your choices really matter and affect the world around you. Can you talk a little bit about sort of how the narrative branches out and how player decisions really affect the outcome without spoiling anything?
Okay, so I'm going to base my answer off of the demo. Upon the completion of this, or nearing the completion of the quest.
Tak, istnieje szansa, że jest głębszy dno też, nie? Ale sami Redsi powiedzieli, że ich silnik, na którym generalnie stoi Cyberpunk, jest przestarzaną technologią. Także to są słowa Redsów. Więc samo przejście mówi, że jednak chcą na coś nowszego i nie chcą inwestować pieniędzy w swój silnik już, bo to się po prostu nie opłaca. Po prostu trzeba wziąć na ruszt to, co oni powiedzieli też, nie? Więc być może jest jakieś głębsze dno, tak jak mówisz. Ale oficjalnie. To jest stara technologia.
As the tagline goes, right? Everyone has their demons, including the protagonist.
Yeah, and also, well, there is this certain character, Aboryce, who's Victor's friend from the past, and well, when we say about the meaning of choices, Aboryce is a good example because you can either make him a good friend of yours or an enemy.
I nie, to nie jest u mnie znowu, nie? To te zapisy są badziewe.
Keep some secrets. It's good. Now let's talk about the combat a little bit because the Salvatores can help you fight. When I hear about sort of like unique demons that you can bond with and have them help you in battle, I feel like it's a little like scary Pokemon. I feel like that maybe is not the best way to sell this, but like tell me about how they come into play in combat.
Yeah, we've heard that a lot. Also, other influences named were Persona. People were seeing these elements in here, and for a good reason. How it works is that as we develop our character and different ways, the strength of each demon grows. So depending on how we develop Viktor, each of them will become stronger. And basically how it works in the combat is we have an action queue, so Viktor's abilities let him predict what's going to happen, and we have to adapt to that as players. So to facilitate that, we have enabled the player to change demons or Salutors at will during combat, provided that they're not preoccupied with a certain executing a long attack, for instance, or something like that. We can change them on the fly. Each one has different set of different abilities. So one might be really good for dealing damage. Another one might be, giving Viktor more sustain in combat by healing him. Things like this. So you really need to think about which of these you are going to, invest into.
Now, is combat sort of a necessary evil? Are there instances where you can sort of talk your way around it? Are there random encounters? I guess sort of how much combat is there in the world? A
lot, I'd say, but in some places you can actually choose during the dialogue. You can choose an option that would not lead to combat.
Of course,
so depends on the choices you make during the dialogue. So yeah, you can either finish it with a combat.
Of course, antagonizing every police officer or thug in the streets will not help you avoid it. But no, you are able to talk your way out of combat at certain points. As for random encounters, if you're talking about encounters as in RNG, random encounters, no, there's no such thing in the game. So
Biedna ta laska tam się stresuje chyba strasznie.
Viktor is the victim of an attempted mugging in an alleyway. That is not random. It ties into the thing the narrative or the world we're trying to show, right?
Now, about this world, I am really curious, sort of the structure, level of exploration, general scale of it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
And you have access to the majority of the city of Warsaw, or each of its districts. Of course, it's not one-to-one scale, as that would be, you know, maybe possible to do, but I don't know if it would be very fun to go through a whole city like that. At different points in the narrative, depending on what Wiktor's needs are, he will have the ability to visit each of the city's districts that are of any interest to him.
Like open up, because it won't be, the Warsaw won't be open from the beginning, so.
And to a degree, the world will also react to what Wiktor does in it.
Color me intrigued. The Thaumaturge will be out later this year. We'll have lots more about this on IGN, plus plenty more games right here at Gamescom.
Tak. Ja też nie mówię, żeby się ekscytować czy coś w tym stylu, nie? Broń Boże, nie?
Let's just tell people what you saw.
Go, we saw a lot. I feel like what we saw is maybe 15 to 20 minutes of the game, but kind of more, it seemed a longer mission condensed. There was a lot of fading in between scenes.
And they sped it up.
They sped it up, and it looked like it was the first mission of the game. That's what it was. It was the intro of the game called One Small Step.
Ale tak, masz rację, ten Frostbite Engine to...
Where do we start? You start as
różnie z nim bywało.
So you're kind of in the depths. I think there was the moon of Vectera. I don't know if that means anything to anyone. I don't think that's a real place. Maybe it is. I'm not some sort of, you know, I don't know everything about space, you know what I mean? But it started out with that classic Bethesda kind of throwing you into the world, close to people's faces.
Yeah.
You were kind of, felt like it was almost like your first day on the job sort of thing. And it had sort of that, already a couple of characters there that had that Bethesda mix of like authority and charm. There was a little bit of humor there already. They're just so good at that writing, I think, of like bringing a bit of humor, but also like emerging you into a world so quickly, just like throwing slang, like calling you a Dusty. I don't know what a Dusty is.
I thought they were just talking to me the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I'm like, well, that was my nickname growing up. My grandfather used to call me that. That works.
It probably was exactly that. This is a game where you roleplay as Destin Legaria in space.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if that's your sort of thing, maybe Starfield is to you. But
I was immersing myself.
Exactly. That was merely like the first 30 seconds of this. So you're kind of working your way through this mine. You've got this sort of like laser cutter thing. So you're kind of doing, kind of reminds you a little bit of No Man's Sky at the start. They're kind of just like, you know, pushing a laser into some rocks to get some ore. I believe it was beryllium. I'm keeping all these things in mind. But then you can go deeper into this cave, and there's this weird sort of like glowing artifact thing that you touch.
And of course you touch it.
Of course you touch it. And it's like...
And nothing happens, and it's unremarkable.
Exactly, and the game ends.
No,
no, what happens is you kind of touch it. It looks like you're having these sort of almost like 2001 A Space Odyssey like visions. It's almost quite similar to, do you remember the opening
Starfield ma się dobrze na swoim silniku? Właśnie nie wiem, na jakim silniku jest Starfield, szczerze powiedziawszy.
They're playing on that deliberately, but it's a cool opening, and then you kind of you've obviously blacked out from that, and you wake up and you're straight into character creation, which they kind of blitz through. I reckon most people, I mean, I know I'm going to spend probably at least an hour on that, like choosing all my different, I don't know how many moles I want, but also, you know, my background, my traits.
Well, yeah, the background and traits are really important because there seem to be conflicting backgrounds and conflicting traits where you pick one, you can't pick the other one, etc.
Yeah. There was at least
Creation Engine 2 jakiś?
At least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen different backgrounds.
Jakoś nie kojarzę.
It's like whatever one you picked, you got a bit of reactive dialogue from the person you were creating the character
with,
bo to
jest Obsidian, Bethesdy silnik, ich autorski, dobra.
And then you get what I feel like is, you know, the Bethesda step out moment.
Fallout 4 był na tym silniku.
You get a vault opening in Skyrim, you get a big old dragon coming up edge. This time, this sort of like medical facility, I guess you're in. The door opens and you find out you're on like the surface of this like beautiful looking moon, and the music, like barely seen any of this game, but I've been listening to this score for like
potrafi dużo. A i wierzę, wiesz co, widziałem jakiegoś Fallouta 4 zmodowanego, także wierzę, że może dużo. Ale to, że może dużo, też nie oznacza, że chodzi spoko, więc... No.
So for me, I don't think that is actually intended to be their step-up moment, because there's a combat scenario that happens, and you sort of learn how to fight the other mercenaries or whatever they're called, and then you get on your spaceship and you go to space.
Yes.
And I think
that's the moment that they're
targeting. I think, like Todd Howard previously mentioned, this probably a couple of years ago now, that Starfield has multiple step-out moments. So maybe that's, you know, one of them. Space is another one. Later we'll maybe hint on what might be another one of those. But yeah, you mentioned these like pirates turn up, the Crimson Fleet, we've heard about them. They turn up because they're hunting basically this character you meet who's going to buy this artifact off you at this spaceport called Barrett. He's part of Constellation, who kind of seem this almost like mythical, like folklore group of explorers in this universe. Like they talk about half the workers in this mining facility not even believing they exist. So that's like an interesting sort. I like that sort of like, yeah, almost like legendary aspect to it. And then you're encouraged after this fight to go to Constellation, to join them and deliver this artifact.
Ładnie, przetupaka cyk I sama wylatuje.
Yeah,
nice.
and I really like how they teach you combat in that early section.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'll at least know how to deal with that. But for me, that space moment was it. That's where like it really piques my imagination, and I start thinking about the possibilities of future jumps that I'll be doing.
Yes.
What will the experiences be like when I find planets that I could land on? Because they have you go land on the next planet where you have to deliver the artifact, right?
Exactly.
And something really interesting happened in the menu. I don't know if you picked up on it, but it was like something like bad cargo not detected.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you have like something illegal, if that's going to
the space police are coming.
Are the space police coming? Like, what happens in that situation? Can you talk your way out of it? And you're like, oh, my equipment's being weird.
There's so many possibilities. Like even going back to that initial like fight against like 5 or so pirates, the pick up a weapon objective was optional, so I don't know if there's a pacifist way of getting through that somehow. Like as you said, you go into space and you're instantly ambushed by these Crimson Fleet pirates again. I believe their ships are called Ghosts, I think, which is a cool name. And yeah, there's a little dogfight section. You don't really get from that how you do that, but it looked pretty solid. I'm a sucker for space combat. They're always my favorite part of Star Wars games is space combat. So if I'm doing a lot of that, I'm happy. And like you said, almost the third step out moment, it seems, will be arriving in New Atlantis, which is the city where Constellation seemed to call home. And we saw little glimpses of that city. They did like a fun little montage, like cool little coffee shops, some nice gardens, like massive skyscrapers. I don't know, they've said this city is huge. It looks huge. I don't know quite the scale here, but like we're gonna get lost in not only the universe, but just this one city, I think.
Oh yeah. I think that was the briefest part of the whole demo too. Like a lot seemed cut out, and then you're just delivering. You're going to the door, and you meet that tribunal or whatever they're referred to as in the game, and we have a lot to talk about. Then it closes on that moment. I thought it would close when you jump to space, or like at one of those jump out moments. Or
it just goes. They tease that sort of. It's almost like, I don't know if you're joining Constellation, you're just going to work with them. I don't know if they're even the like evil force in this game. Who knows? But like, that tease of like the adventure has begun. I just like kind of the aesthetic of the Constellation building. Like already seen so many. You've seen like a sand-colored mine, space itself, like a dusty spaceport.
The palette is awesome.
Yeah, like the city is just like showing like a proper like sci-fi futuristic skyscrapers. But then the Constellation like seemed like their headquarters was like laid on with like dark wood and everything. It was just very nice. I'd like to live there. But yeah, I'd like to live in a lot of games. I prefer to live in Starfield at the moment than I would anywhere in Fallout. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, goes without saying, really. Overall impressions, do you like this presentation? I think it was really smart to do it in this big fancy theater where the bass is like punching you in the gut throughout.
Like I said, that music, hearing it with that, I just know when I'm at home now, I'm never going to hear it quite like that, which is a little bit sad. But I liked that it was quite obviously the opening game, but it was smart to show, like, you can already see you get so much variety in this opening mission. You get exploration, like navigating conversations, ground combat, space, like exploration of a city. Like, I don't know. It's just, this game seems like a lot, and I've been waiting for so long, like, for this game, and so far doesn't look like it's gonna let me down.
I'm excited to learn more, and those are just the building blocks of what you can experience later on.
It looks ridiculous.
Najważniejszy mod do Starfielda to ten z powiększoną drużyną. Wstrzymał z tą wyrzeczeniem zamiast jednym. O ja, jeśli będę grał, to raczej będę grał bez modów, jak to zwykle bywa, nie?
Oh, hey there. Later this year, the League of Legends universe gets a little bigger in an all-new single-player adventure. Here to tell us all about Song of Nunu, a League of Legends story, please welcome Rowan Parker from Riot Forge and Raul Rubio Renares from Tequila Works. Hi.
Hi, Ryan.
Thank you so much for coming.
No, thanks for having us.
This game looks absolutely beautiful. We're going to start looking at it in a second because it's the kind of game that you just want to look at. It is a third-person kind of action-adventure platformer with two
very lovely characters.
Ziomek ma takie dziwne sandałki,
I
kurde.
just can't get enough of. So right here we've got some brand new footage that no
Przerzuciły mi wokół.
just so geeked out about. So tell me a bit about this game.
Well, I would say that Song of Nunu is the ultimate road trip, in the sense that you have two friends, the best friends forever. They are having the journey of their lives. One is a little kid, Nunu, the Notai, and the other happens to be, well, the last magical Yeti.
An ancient four-armed Yeti.
Yes.
It's his best friend.
But
you know, we all have friends like that.
I wish.
Of course, we all do.
He's very huggable. He's friend-shaped.
He looks extremely huggable. You are making life-size plushies, right?
Not only that, we have a button to hug the Yeti. You can hug.
Of course.
In the
you
game.
have to. So tell me a bit about, first of all, I want to say, beautiful, beautiful game. I wanted to know a little bit about the kind of classic 3D platformer inspirations here, because personally, I can't see a character sliding down an ice slide without thinking Mario 64. It's the first, like I just think about buying an N64 on day one, getting to the snow level.
Jesienią wychodzi.
Is there any like kind of ancient 3D platformer DNA in this game?
Well, I would say that, again, if you pay attention to the games that we have made as Tequila Works, they tend to be narrative-driven, single-player action adventures.
Yeah.
But all of them are kinda emotional and deep, right? In this game, everything is up to, well, Nunu himself. I mean, it's not just he's a cute little boy. He's a very pure heart. He's innocent, right? So we wanted to transmit that with the game. This game is a very chill experience, actually. I mean, we want you to explore the Freyr. Usually the Freyr is depicted as this super harsh and unforgiving, well, northern region in Runeterra that is full of dangers. It is, by the way, yeah.
Right.
But again, for Nunu, it's just an opportunity for adventures, right? And having fun with his friend. And that's how we start the story. Again, even if this region is full of civil war and ancient evils and whatnot, for Nunu, it's just, well, he's looking for his mom. It's a very small story, right? And basically his view of the world is influencing everything that is happening around him, starting by Willem himself, right?
Yeah.
Because he's a very old, grumpy, wise Yeti. But when he's next to Nunu, he's very playful and he's, well, huggable. I agree.
I mean, to Brian's original point, comparing to, say, like a Mario 64, I'd say we are much more narrative-driven. We spend a lot of time, crafting, this bespoke, narrative story, which, is woven into gameplay. So it's definitely a lot more narrative-heavy.
So it's not just like, hey, I baked you a cake, come to the castle. There's a whole story.
I mean, that's still like, I like cake.
Okay, of course. No disrespect to cake.
It would be a frozen cake.
Yeah. But I think
frozen cake is called ice cream.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
They make an ice
cake.
I'm going to blow your mind, Brian. They make an ice cream cake.
No.
Yeah.
Wait.
They don't let me out of here enough to find that kind of stuff out.
Really?
I think, I think something players are starting to come to expect from Forge games is that they come for the gameplay and are pleasantly surprised to find there is chops on the stories that we have.
Right.
We really do lean heavily into this, compelling storytelling in all of our games. And I think Song of Nunu, I'm particularly excited because it's one of the more tugging at heartstrings stories we've tried to do yet. Like Raul said, it's a more chill, pun intended, experience than our previous stuff, but it is definitely going to punch hard on the story, with the characters that we have.
I appreciate that. I mean, League of Legends is this like hardcore multiplayer game, and it's depth and detail oriented. It's complicated, and then you have something here that you're describing as like a chill single player game, and they both exist in the same world. There's two sides of a coin. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's what attracted us in the first place as Tequila Works, right? Because again, we kind of make people cry with our games.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the good reasons, but for the right ones.
It's the good crying.
Yeah,
it's a happy cry.
It's a good
happy cry.
It's a happy cry.
But it was like, well, you have this super rich, deep universe, right, with Runeterra and these mighty champions. But because of the nature of, I mean, it's a PvP MOBA, right? So
League of Legends.
You cannot spend a lot of time in exposition.
Yeah.
Because, well, but this is an opportunity to see these characters from a new angle and show their humanity. And again, it's not.
Starfield ma niecałą stówkę na dysku. Wejdzie na stick. Na styk wejdzie.
It's not we want make people cry, and it's easier when you have a Yeti.
Yeah.
Is more like, to be honest, we care about the wrinkles, and I mean, again, League of Legends is full of champions, but for us it was not a matter of how epic or mighty or strong you are. It was more like about this bonding, right? And in Uno and Willem, we see this. It's not just friendship; it's even family.
Yeah. And I mean, some of the stuff you showed off is that you know, Willem will get a little annoyed in a funny kind of way, chuck a snowball and stuff like that.
You can expect a lot of snowballs. Yeah.
There's a lot of work that I mean, you know, we put a lot of work into the believability of Willump as a companion. I think Tequila Works have a fantastic pedigree of companion characters in their games.
Right.
So if you've played Rime, if you've played, you know, the other games they've made, I think Willump is like, you know, as an execution of a warm, fuzzy, you know, friendly character that's with you. And, you know, our goals of we don't want him to be annoying when he's on screen. You don't want him to get in the way of gameplay. There's a lot of
the quality bar.
He couldn't
make him annoying.
No,
there's a lot of complexity that goes into
it. But even then, it was just again not annoying. Okay, great.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like it's not an extension of the player. I mean, it's supposed to be your friend.
Right.
And friends care for you. They usually say that good friends know all your stories, and that's great. But the best friends, they made the stories with you, and that's Willem.
Oh, that's beautiful. Put that on the back of the box.
Oh, like thank you. You can use it. Yeah.
So
we are going to make Max with
it. We've seen a lot of snow areas, right? This is like very much Arctic themed game, right? Will we get to see some other stuff throughout the game? Like, tell me a little bit about like the kind of diversity of the environments a little bit, without spoiling too much, obviously.
Yeah, I think when you think of the Flare, everything is thinking of ice and snow.
Yeah,
you can see a lot here. But again, showing this is an unknown region in Northern Flare. So you are going to see different biomes. I mean a lot of variety in how diverse the Flare really is.
We also bring to life some of these areas that I think players have been seeing in League of Legends art for a long time. You know, being able to actually go to the Frostguard Citadel, being able to actually, you know, see the Avarosan Plains in some of the parts of the world. But to Raul's...
Can I mention a few?
Oh yeah, please go.
The Howling Abyss.
Sorry, I forgot.
You're going to be there. Yes,
if you play Aram, then you know what the Howling Abyss is.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Guys, Song of Nunu looks amazing. I cannot wait to play it. Thank you so much. Song of Nunu, a League of Legends story, will be coming to consoles and PC later this year. But right now, there's more Gamescom Studio live on IGN, where we will learn about all kinds of things like ice cream cake. Who knew? Yeah. Thank you so much. Keep watching and stick around.
Oh, exclusive. All Cat Games? Warhammer.
As a rogue trader, your endowed authority allows you to recruit crew members from almost any echelon of the Imperium. Let's take a look at your options. Avalar Versarion, the seneschal of your dynasty. A wise advisor. He has endured many battlefield encounters and is capable of returning blows on the enemies of House von Valancius tenfold. Idira Talas, unsanctioned Psyker. She is a powerful, albeit unpredictable diviner, whose psychic powers can greatly amplify your party's offensive and defensive capabilities. Pascal Haneman, Magos Explorator. Utility is his name. Buffs and debuffs galore, but he is not helpless on his own either, and powerful weaponry is very much his game. Cassia Orselio, Navigator. With her mutant navigator powers, she can provide crucial aid to your party and unleash the power of her third eye to bring forth...
Ile miałem miesięcy Game Passa jak miałem? Nie mam bladego pojęcia.
Ordo Xenos Interrogator. A sanctioned psyker and combat
z ponad rok?
to confront his enemies head on,
Mogłem mieć?
empowering himself with the help of his abilities. Jai Hadari, Cold Trader. Her experience and leadership is unmatched. Under her direction, even the weakest member of your party will become a serious threat. Sister Argenta of the Adepta Sororitas. A ranged damage dealer with unparalleled mobility. Add acts of faith, and she can turn a fight around even in the most desperate circumstances. Ulfur, Space Marine battle brother. Though he excels in all forms of warfare, his Varisian nature beckons him into close combat, where he can stare into the eyes of his dying prey. And Iliet Lanavis, an Aldari ranger. Her ranged combat abilities are second to none. Wielding her superior long rifle, she can eliminate foes from extreme distances. There will be a very diverse roster of companions available, offering countless possibilities in both gameplay and the narrative. Start thinking now about the kind of crew you will assemble. Will you be
assemble players
creed, or risk more dangerous associations?
Collector's Edition. Rogue Trader. Do 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 do.
Behind every game, movie and TV show you love is a wild, crazy and sometimes unbelievable story.
No one is just black and white.
From revealing the secrets behind your favourite franchises to solving a legendary video game mystery,
I'm coming for you.
IGN Inside Stories gives you a peek behind the curtain.
If people come to the game now and see what's going on there, I think they'll be surprised.
Join us as we dive into hyper-dedicated fan bases, worldwide phenomenons, and the most incredible untold tales in games and entertainment.
I said, wait a minute, that doesn't sound so good.
It was definitely not what I expected in the best way.
Inside Stories, available now only on IGN.
And I was like, holy shit, we're gonna do this.
Steam Live, check it out.
You're watching Gamescom Studio powered by IGN, and if you're just now joining us, you're in for a time with a chat with Xbox's head honcho, Phil Spencer, which is coming up next.
Shortly after that, we will be sticking our nose into Lies of P's business, and then after that...
O, jednak jeszcze coś jest. Okej.
Oh, I like that. That was good. No convention is complete without cosplay, and Gamescom is no exception. Every year, the Gamescom Cosplay Village fills with costumed characters from all over the multiverse.
If you can't make it there in person, join us on Sunday for the Gamescom Cosplay Contest powered by Mini, where we will be showcasing some of the most impressive outfits and handing out some awards to the real standouts.
Gamescom is a great time, and it's
Ale ja, Angela, nie powiedziałem, że nie lubię modów. To nie lubię ogrywać gier za pierwszym razem z modami. A jest to delikatna różnica.
Addressing important causes like diversity, education, climate and environmental protection, and aid for people in need.
No dobra, wyjątkiem może był Watch Dogs, ale Watch Dogs akurat z racji bytu był starą grą, więc no. Ale tak, to bez modów. Jak ja też mówiłem, że jak będę grał ponownie w Wieśkę, no to będę grał z modami, więc nie jest to, że nie lubię modów.
Last year I came to Gamescom and I learned a new German word, Nierenstein. That's the German word for pain. Actually, more accurately, that's the German word for kidney stone. I spent all of last Gamescom in the hospital. This year it's going to be different. I am going to see everything. I mean, everything there is to see at Gamescom. As you can see, everyone is really excited. I am one of them. There's a giant robot right behind you right now. Let's get out on the floor, let's go! E3, Comic-Con, if you think those are the biggest gatherings in entertainment and gaming, think again, because you're wrong. In 2019, Gamescom hosted almost 400...
Dobra, to w sumie możemy przyspieszyć trochę chyba, nie? Nic nie ma raczej ciekawego. Dobra, tu nic ciekawego nie ma, czekajcie, nie, to jest... O.
Like if the Activision deal closed,
Dobra. Jesteśmy.
We're showing off the best of Gamescom. Also,
Watch Dogs Legion cię ciekawił? Wiesz co? Bardzo niestabilnie chodził. Dużo razy crashował. Przynajmniej u mnie. DLC-ka musiałem porzucić, bo to już w ogóle był crash fiesta. Więc...
Xbox has their biggest booth ever at Gamescom this year, and we're thrilled to have us to talk about some of their exciting partnerships and to answer some of the tough questions fans have been curious about. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Spencer right here with me. How are you doing?
Awesome. I'm looking at all the people. This is such a cool setup because all the people on the Gamescom floor are right there. It's cool. I appreciate you guys having a booth here on the floor. It's awesome.
So we're going to talk hardware services and such, but you just had this big announcement about some sort of CMA issue where you're partnering with Ubisoft. What does that mean for video games?
Ooh, partnerstwo z Ubi?
Can you just explain it to me because I don't get it?
Fundamentally, we are trying to bring more games to more people, and we think doing the deal with Ubisoft, which frees up one of the concerns at the CMA, which is the UK regulatory board where acquisitions get handled, will allow more games to go to more people. We've always thought we would do that as well, but Ubisoft's a good partner. We know them. They're independent from us, so we say any kind of concerns that we may dictate where the games go, hopefully is alleviated now, and allow us to continue to move forward in what we're working on with the deal. We still have work to do there, but we think it's a good step, bring more games to more people, which has been what this is about.
So if I want to play, is it just cloud streaming, or will it have an impact on Game Pass?
It is the rights that will go to Ubisoft when the deal closes are the cloud streaming rights for ABK games.
So Call of Duty, I can still boot that up on Game Pass potentially once the deal closes.
Yeah, on ABK, I'm going to a different answer now just because of the way you asked that. I want to make sure people know that there's work to actually move games to Game Pass. So for people who think like the deal's going to close
October 18th,
then everything's available to Game Pass. That's not true. Like so. And it hasn't been true in other acquisitions that we've done. Like there's work for us to go do, just mechanical work for us to go do. So it will take us time, definite time, to get the games to portfolio. But this has nothing to do with making native games available in Game Pass. This is all about the Ubisoft relationship, is all about the cloud streaming rights for ABK games.
Well, that
ABK being Activision Blizzard King. It's really Activision and Blizzard since they have the kind of pay-to-play games.
That makes me feel a lot better. Thanks, CMA, for making it super confusing. But anyway.
But let me say, it's in addition to other deals that we've done, right? Like GeForce and Boosteroid, Ubisoft, other deals. I think there's like some GeForce announcements going out now about our PC games starting to hit their, so if you're a GeForce Now subscriber and you're a Game Pass subscriber, you're starting to be able to stream the PC versions of those games, which I think is an awesome part of this as well. Getting more games to more people has been what this is about. Not taking games away from PlayStation. I know there's like, that's not what it is. We look at the success of Xbox as how many people are playing Xbox games, and that's important to us.
Yeah, I mean, if you took them off PlayStation, you would literally lose money.
That we would. Yeah, it's never been in the plan. I mean, I've had to wear a suit and tie. People like seeing all that stuff.
You look
We're not there anymore.
You look very fancy. Let's talk Xbox Series X. So the console's 3 years old. Where are we at with the timeline of the console? Are we at the beginning? Are we in the middle?
I think we're kind of at the end of the beginning, like if that makes any sense. Okay. I think the kind of supply issues early on lengthened the beginning to some extent, both on cost as well as just availability. I think from a game dev standpoint, not just us, but third parties, you're really just now starting to see the swell of games that got slowed up through COVID production now starting to launch. I think we have like 85 games launching like in the industry between now and like tomorrow, right? It seems like there's so many games coming right now that we're starting to get through the beginning of this generation and hopefully into a place where as an owner of a console, you've got games that are taking full advantage of the hardware and are great games for people to go play. And I look at the lineup over the rest of this year from third parties alone, and it's fantastic.
What's next for gaming hardware? Like, are better graphics still enough to differentiate?
I think better graphics, more realistic feel will always be important. I also love that different form factors are coming out. I thought what Valve did with the Steam Deck was awesome. I'm traveling with my ROG Ally when I'm here, having a great time playing games. I feel like it's a remote Xbox for me, right? I log in, my community's there, my games are there. All devs should support cross saves, so that's to you, Remnant 2 team. I'm playing a ton of Remnant 2, but I can't move to PC. But I just love the fact that I'm able to take my save games where I go and play. So I love that hardware is becoming more diverse, both in price point and in form factor and usability, so that more people are playing.
Do you have any news about some sort of mid-generation refresh for Xbox?
No. We're right now the increased storage on the Series S. The black one, yeah. That's what we actually call it, is the black.
Looks awesome.
Yeah, it does. It looks great. But no, like I said, we're kind of at the end of the beginning in my mind. So I think we need to let devs settle on this hardware and get the most out of it. But in terms of increased frame rate, increased resolution, I just look at what goes on PC with high-end GPUs, high-end CPUs. And it's not always just about pixel count or frame resolution. I think there's lighting techniques. There's a bunch of things that go into what makes a game look and feel great. And we have a ton of headroom as an industry there.
The Baldur's Gate 3 team brought up some issues with Xbox Series S and split screen getting it to work properly. I know the Forza team announced that it won't launch with split screen, I believe.
Local split screen, yeah, split screen, yeah.
Local split screen. So
or even online split screen, yeah.
Is there some future where you allow developers just to launch on the Series X versus S? Because there's the parity clause right now, and I'm curious, will that ever be loosened up a bit?
I want to decouple these issues a little bit.
Yeah.
The decision to do split screen or not is a creative decision, a dev decision. So if we think about like Forza, it has nothing to do with any kind of hardware thing on S and X, just where they wanted to focus their time. We obviously see the data in terms of how many people play local co-op for games. I love local co-op. Shout out to Vampire Survivors that just launched it. Fantastic. But there's also just let's go where the play is in terms of where we're going to focus our dev resources. In terms of the two platforms, I want games to launch on both platforms. There are feature differences between the platforms. We have an ability to kind of handle that and how it works. Where teams are going to choose to focus their time and their effort is up to them. We're here to support them and what they want to go do. We want to make sure that games, when they're launching on competitive platforms, are also launching on Xbox. So we're going to learn from this experience as well, because we don't love that. But I don't think it's something that's like a fatal flaw in the system. It's partners prioritizing their time, us listening and being a good partner to them. And you see some amazing games doing great work across S and X. Diablo looks great, Starfield looks great, Forza looks great across both. And you know, we think, I want to make sure console gaming is accessible to more people, and we think the price point of the console is a pretty important part of that.
Yeah, I love the Series S, but there's been that conversation going around, so I wanted to ask you about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair question. I will say that I think some of the discussion in the community has maybe not come from us or the devs. It's been more the community building, well, this happened, and then that happened, and then so it must be about this. And I think we can do more to add clarity to actually where we are, and I look forward to doing that.
So you threw like 300 devs out to Larian to help them get Baldur's Gate on Xbox?
It wasn't 300, but absolutely.
400, wow.
No, it's a great game. They're an important partner. I'm meeting with them here at Gamescom. Like it's a game I want to see on the platform, and we have resources that helped in terms of making sure it's going to sit. I think they've said it's going to ship by the end of the year. I think that's their words.
Yeah.
In terms of what they've said. But like we should together come up with clarity to set some expectations for Xbox fans, and I look forward to doing that.
Okay. I just really like that game, so I'm hoping I can play it on my console soon.
I do too. Yeah. Hopefully with cross save, so I can play my PC and my Xbox version back and forth.
Yeah, got it. So, what else do we have? Game Pass does seem to be a bit of a tough sell for a lot of executives, I guess you call them. Kotick was one of those people that testified to it being a tough sell for him to bring Call of Duty to Game Pass. After closing, how are you going to breach that sort of ideological difference between you both?
Well, there's a different person making the decisions. That's one thing. On Game Pass, it's not necessarily true that every game looks at Game Pass and says that's the opportunity for me. Like if you're a massively successful AAA franchise that has double-digit million marketing budget to go drive awareness and discovery of your game day one, and that's part of your model, I totally understand why you wouldn't window your game day one into a subscription. I got no issue with that. Like we do it as a first party for this because we're trying to grow the subscription and we're looking at the overall health of the subscription as an outcome. We love that. We see it grow on console, more growth on PC definitely now, which has been awesome, especially sitting here in Germany. We think about all the PC players here. But for when I just got out actually of a roundtable with a bunch of indie develop leads, studio heads, and the subscription helps them. It helps them in terms of dev funding, certainty in what they can go build. Every game that's in Game Pass is available for sale, so we're not trying to turn the world into a subscription-only world, I promise. That's not our plan. And we think it's a great model for certain teams, and for other teams that decide it's not the right model for them ever.
Tak, jest to prawda w sumie, co Phil teraz gada. Model subskrypcyjny jest naprawdę świetny, nie? To nie tylko na Game Passie, nie? Ale EA, Ubi.
Spencer from Xbox, so much for joining us. We gotta go. Coming up next, more video game news right here at Gamescom with IGN. Bye everybody.
Także jest to naprawdę spoko opcja właśnie dla tych osób, które, nie wiem, nie chcą kupić gry od razu, tylko chcą, nie wiem, zobaczyć. No to 6 dyszek jest idealnym rozwiązaniem. Poza tym, te jedne gry, którą chcą na przykład przetestować, mają dostęp do całej biblioteki, więc świetna opcja. Sam korzystam. Jak coś wychodzi, więc jak najbardziej za.
Sid, welcome to Should I Play This? This is what
You felt like I was good.
100. Join us.
Gamescom. I am Seth Macy with IGN. I am joined by Matt Purslow.
Hello.
We are here to talk about where winds meet. Matt, what is where winds meet? And that's a hard sentence to say, by the way.
It is what seems like giant Chinese mythology-based kind of open world RPG. I guess the easiest way is it's got a little bit of that Ghost of Tsushima about it.
Ooh.
But
Tsushima?
It is massive.
Yeah.
And
Sushi?
so we only got about half an hour to play it, maybe 40 minutes. And I don't even know where to begin with this game. There is so much.
You gotta begin somewhere. We only have so much time.
So there's pretty good combat. What I will say, like that's what we saw. There's it starts on a horse. We're on a horse firing arrows, leaping off the side of the horse, doing QTEs to bat people off the side. Very, very cool. Into a boss fight. Not very Soulsy, I will say. It's got, you know, you're gonna have to parry, you're gonna have to block.
So it's action, or it's not turn-based, it's action.
No,
RPG.
yeah, it's action RPG. You know, you've got like the stamina and you've got the health bar and you've got kind of a lot of like the parry and riposte system. I wouldn't say it was anywhere near as difficult as a Souls, so I think if you're worried about that, I wouldn't worry about it. Much closer to the sort of combat that you had in Ghost of Tsushima. Okay. A lot of that kind of like steel on steel kind of effect, which is good. But then after that boss fight, we got thrown into an open world and it was pretty much do what you want. So I'm wondering if there's a little bit of kind of the Zelda about it. I wonder if it's sort of like free form, go and do what you want. What I did there was not what I was expecting. I thought this would be a fairly full-on kind of combat game. I was finding weird statues that had riddles on them, and I was turning statues around to get prizes.
Nice.
I was going into villages and dealing with pickpockets and chasing a goose around a village.
Realistic goose chasing.
Yeah, yeah. I was, there's flights
in the Goose Simulator.
All sorts of very wushu style, like jumping around. I went into a village full of statues and we're throwing little rocks at them and turning them back into humans. It's wild. There's a very, very vast kind of like power system that you, I guess, assign to a lot of the face buttons. I had very little time to work out how it all works. What I can tell you is that one of the abilities is summoning in a goat to have the goat charge through and hit things.
Yes!
It is like, I was assuming it was going to be quite serious, but it's
Goat
not.
Simulator?
It's full on, like, those kind of like wushu films with all of the leaping around, like cutting arrows in half. It's got a lot of that vibe going on.
Wow, it sounds like you're describing like 8 different games.
Yeah, it really felt very over. I'm slightly worried it might be a bit over scope, that there might be a bit too much, but I'll hold judgment on that until we've actually got the final thing, which does feel that it's probably going to be quite far away. I don't think it's coming out anytime soon.
All right, cool. Did you have like a pre-rolled character? Are you able to make your own character?
So,
how does that work?
So after the tutorial, it kind of put you into a part where you were playing like the uncle of this little boy, or well, androgynous sort of character, which then it turns out that's who you are. Okay. And you then get to choose whether they're male or female. It then goes into one of the most in-depth character creators I've ever seen in my life.
How so? Like, what makes it so crazy?
To the point where you can change the depth and size of the bit that goes in between your nostrils.
Ah, the filtus.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what it's really called.
But so much, like many different hairstyles, but also you could change each individual cheekbone, forehead, the way that the eyebrows are kind of tilted, literally everything. I think if you remember like the Black Desert Online character creator, which kind of went viral a few years ago, it was almost felt like that ×2.
So you could just make whoever you want, basically.
Pretty much,
game.
yeah.
Oh, wow, that is.
It was very wild. So yeah, kind of much more of a RPG than I thought, because then you go into the stats section. And I assumed that if there were going to be stats in this would be rolled a bit like the Dark Souls, kind of like strength, dexterity,
like,
endurance.
Yeah, basic RPG sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, like charisma and
Gotta have charisma.
and sight. So I get the impression there's a lot more of the kind of like the traditional more D&D side of a thing where we're going to be chatting with characters. There's going to be the importance of how you interact with characters as well as interact with your swords.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, I sort of went in assuming that it was one thing and came out. I sort of don't have a clue what it actually is. There's so much of it.
So you have more questions after playing it.
Yeah.
How long did you get to play?
For about half an hour to 40 minutes. And
you did all of those things.
And there were bosses to fight. There were kind of like little encampments where there was obviously loads of enemies to scrap with. I really don't know where the game starts and ends at this point. Like, I wish that it was a more curated demo rather than a Gamescom throw you in.
Jest
What I
gęś.
can say is there's a lot here, and it'll be really interesting over the next, whether it's months or even years before this game comes out. It'll be interesting to see how all of that develops.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. You got me hyped on it. You can summon goats and chase gooses. I mean, why not? But we are at Gamescom. It is crazy. We're seeing all sorts of games. Make sure to keep it right here at IGN for the best of Gamescom.
Marvel Snap is one of the most hopelessly addictive things you can legally keep in your pocket, and somehow keeps getting better and better. Here to tell me all about what could possibly be coming next to Marvel Snap is Chief Development Officer Ben Brody. Welcome.
What up?
Hey.
Hello.
Everything's up. You got some big news. You just launched finally onto Steam.
That's right. Yeah, just like a couple days ago.
Yeah. So tell us about that. What was that? I know you wanted. It was important to you to get it on Steam in widescreen mode.
Yes. So the game launched late last year,
right,
on mobile, and it's been incredible so far. We won Mobile Game of the Year at the Video Game Awards, a bunch of awards. And it's just, you never know when you're working on a game, like how it's going to go, and to have it come out and have people be really excited about it is really phenomenal. But a lot of my heritage is on PC, and the studio, I mean, we love PC. It's just like, where we all came from, and so now to like finally get it back on PC, it looks so good widescreen, and it's just so much fun to make the full circle.
Are there any extra flourishes in the PC version?
I mean, we just like rebuilt the whole thing from the ground up to take advantage of the widescreen display. The collection manager has a whole new UI. It feels fantastic, and yeah, you could see now. It's like somebody widened the frame, and you could see all of the art you couldn't see before. So you see so much more of the board. It's beautiful. It looks fantastic.
You mentioned you launched last year, coming up on a year now. How do you reflect on how everything's gone with Marvel Snap so far?
It's been really fun to work on this game. It's not every game that we make in the games industry is so much fun, But when you work on a game that is so much fun in a live service game, you get to play the game at night just because you love playing the game, and then you get to come to work in the morning and make it better, and it's like this unbelievably satisfying loop of playing the game, finding something, you're like, oh, I can make that better, and then going back to work the next day, and just making it better than hearing from players just how much better the game is as we've gone through it. So, over the last bunch of months, we've been experimenting, we've been trying new things, we've been launching new features and new cards and learning, and we're just getting better and better as a team, and we keep making the game better.
So you regularly play Marvel Snap?
Of course.
I mean, I don't think every developer plays their own game, do they? After it's out? I don't know.
I mean, come on, it's so good.
It is so good. I play every day. So do you get ideas while you play the game? Like think,
yeah,
this would be fun to add.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, a lot of the time I'm just like zoning out and having a good time, but every once in a while, I mean, a lot of it comes from frustration. I'm like,
Heheszki z Blizzarda.
like, we gotta do something about this one.
Jakby ktoś nie załapał.
But also like certain things that I'm like, I really would like to try to make this deck happen. It's not really coming together. We could make another card to like really make this deck sing, and then we kind of think about it. Yeah.
So you've got the mobile and the PC version now.
Yeah.
Will both of the are they on the same track? Will they be getting updates and support at the same time?
Oh yeah. It's the same. It's the same game. You can play. It's cross-play. It's just all. You just get to choose how you want to experience Marvel Snap.
Interesting. So now that you have the widescreen version, could we perhaps see Marvel Snap arrive to other platforms, maybe console at some point in the future?
I mean, maybe. I don't. It's. We're excited about bringing Marvel Snap where people want to play it. So, it's something we could certainly consider. It was an enormous amount of work rebuilding this thing to work great on PC. So I'm gonna sit and bask in that for a little bit.
Take some time off. Any new modes that you're working on behind the scenes? I know you don't need to like reveal them right now, but like, are there actively?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, we're like. We have a lot of stuff we're working on, actually, and we post our development roadmap just for everyone to come look at and, roast us about or give us feedback about it, maybe, as they would say.
Constructive criticism.
Yes, certainly. Yeah. It's actually really valuable for us, right? It's, once you ship a game, you're not the developers really anymore. It's a collaboration between the people working on the game every day for their job and the community who's playing it and has like really important feedback on how we can continue to make the game better. So we post our roadmaps, and we've been like churning through a bunch of our promised features and quality of life upgrades and stuff, and we just posted a bunch of other stuff on there. So if you're curious about what's coming soon to Marvel Snap, that's like a whole list you can just go look at online.
Got it. Do you have a favorite deck at the moment?
Yes. Well, we just nerfed one of my favorite decks.
Oh,
so
no.
I'm in mourning a little bit, but the new deck I'm playing right now is a Silver Surfer deck. Silver Surfer gives all of your 3-cost cards a big bonus, so I'm playing like a lot of 3-cost cards. Brood is a 3-cost card that summons more copies of itself. Right. It's like an alien brood, and so it gets a lot of extra bonus for comboing with Silver Surfer. It's so fun.
Is the plan to, is he going to focus on supporting Marvel Snap for the future, or are there other games that you have in the pipeline?
Right now we're like full speed ahead on Marvel Snap. We're like at the beginning of the Marvel Snap journey right now. These kinds of games, they last for like decades, or maybe longer. I don't know. Like there's so much fun for such a long time that, supporting it is both like an incredible joy and passion for us, but also, yeah, I mean, it's just we're gonna go for a really long time. There are so many Marvel characters.
I know.
There's like 8,000 Marvel. And they keep adding more because it's the living thing. And so we're gonna.
I mean, that must be nice to make a game that someone else is just creating content for you.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, we made this like enormously amazing movie that everybody loves, and we're like, taking notes, like, we're gonna add that. It's really fun.
Awesome. Well, congrats on all the success. I play Marvel Snap every day. So. Love the game.
Tak, grasz, to pokaż telefon.
All right, thank you so much. Marvel Snap is available right now. You have no excuse not to jump in and start playing immediately. We've got tons more ahead here on Gamescom Studios, so don't go anywhere.
Be there. Be strong.
Reklamy. Właśnie.
At games.
Each episode, I have to admit that this movies, I will hold that like Sonic episodes.
Dużo widać?
Wayfinder hit early access last week, and due to overwhelming demand, it had a bit of a rough launch, but something tells me it'll find its way. I hope you liked what I did there.
That was good.
Here to tell us about what's in the works, please welcome AJ. And
You gotta try it. Come on, you have to try it. It's
really?
Gamescom. Do it.
Okay, okay.
It's phonetic.
La Saracena?
There you go.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. It's phonetic.
Yes.
People get so scared about it, but it's just.
I'm so glad. Okay, yes. First name down. All right. And you are from Airship Syndicate. Welcome.
Yeah,
welcome.
well, thank you very much. We wanted to have more members of the team.
AJ La Saracena.
As you mentioned,
Oui,
we
oui.
weren't able to do that. So yeah, we launched last week. Things kind of blew up, and we're in the process of solving it. So. People have been telling us the entire time here. It's like, oh, it's a good thing, but it's really not. Obviously, like we want people in the game, we want them to play. Yeah. But the demand has been incredible. The community has been incredible, and we're really excited to bring the game out into early access and then just build it from there.
Is Wayfinder?
Yes, I had a question about that because people, once they do get into the game, they seem to love the art style and everything. And you've had this incredible way of being able to communicate with the community, which I have felt that developers have been kind of missing for a while now. So do you have another update on the sort of server situation? I did see your tweet from about 4 days ago.
Yeah, so we've actually been posting almost hourly on our Discord, which actually has, our Discord went from 25,000 people to 80,000 in 48 hours, which was just like, again, like we are humbled by the support and the people that are coming in there. But yeah, about every half hour to an hour, we've been trying to give software updates and server updates. We've been working behind the scenes nonstop since the game launched. Last night we put out a really big update, letting people know that not only did we increase capacity, the queue times are down, disconnects are down. We're not done by any means. Like everyone needs to be in, but roughly right now our queue time is about 20 minutes, down from where it was like a couple hours. Again, was not what we wanted, not what we could plan for, unfortunately, but we're in a really great spot right now. So yeah, we really believe in the game, and it's great to see that the community also believes in the game. Yeah. And it's just, as I mentioned in the letter that I actually wrote at 3 o'clock in the morning, that the early access is just a conversation with players. And so just by being transparent with them and where we were and how we did wrong, all we can do is show them via our action and what we're going to do to make it better. But like you mentioned, once people are in the game, they love it. It's just we got to get more people in.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up that point about the letter that you wrote. I didn't realize it was at 3 a.m.
Yes, it was at 3 a.m.
Yeah, but you did mention that in that statement that early access is not a crutch and that it's actually a conversation between the studio and the community. Yep. So how has it been talking to the community? Like, how's the feedback been? How has that conversation been? Because obviously conversation is a two-way street, right?
Yeah, totally. And so we've run a couple different beta tests for the game, and in those betas we've had tons of great feedback about people wanting to see things like air dash, character balance changes, parries for weapons that didn't have them before. And so we utilize a website called Feature Upvote, which people can submit their ideas and thoughts. Other people upvote or downvote them, and then after every beta we assessed where we were. So it's been amazing to see the game grow since we started that, and I think it might take a little bit of time for new people that come into the game to understand that's kind of how we're approaching early access, but we've said all along that we could launch the game with 1,000 zones and 25 different wayfinders and 95 weapons, but if the game is not fun, if it's not rewarding, if the loops aren't there, there's no point. So we really want to focus on building the foundation for Wayfinder now in early access with the community, telling us what they want, what we're doing right, what we're not doing right, and then we can go larger once the game is eventually free to play in 2024.
Ooh, 2024. Okay.
Early 2024, yeah.
Amazing.
That's our current timeline.
Yeah, so can you give me a little bit more on what exactly the gameplay loop is like? You did mention that you wanted that loop to be there, and obviously you're taking feedback. So what is the current gameplay loop like?
Yeah, so at the very start, Wayfinder is a character-based online action role-playing game. It's pretty much our love letter to MMOs. I mean, we grew up playing games like WoW and EverQuest and Final Fantasy, Destiny, Monster Hunter. So there's a lot of different DNA in this game, but at its heart, it's about social, so playing with friends. You have a house that you can decorate. There's large social spaces. Going on awesome adventures with friends, dungeon diving in randomized dungeons to collect components to craft more wayfinders, craft more weapons, and then large open world areas that you can meet new friends. You can do large scale events, kill world bosses, and do quests. So it really is our love letter to MMOs, and one day we hope it to grow into that even big MMO, but it's the game that we've wanted to make for a long time and really plays to the strengths of Airship Syndicate with the beautiful art and the characters that people love, and we're really, really excited about the future.
Yeah, so speaking of this being free to play, you mentioned in the statement you did say that the pricing in the store was getting adjusted and everything as well. So I think the items in the store were reduced to 1,000 silver.
Yes, you did your homework. I like that. It's awesome. Yeah, so something slipped through the cracks completely, and we owned it. Essentially, one of the currency packs was like 50 cents off, essentially, from buying a weapon, and it doesn't feel good as a player to see that, right? Like, we're players ourselves. We immediately owned it. We immediately said we're correcting it. We're retroactively giving people that bought that the difference, and then we're changing those packs going forward. And so in our game, you can craft weapons inside the game, or you can purchase a weapon once. You still need to level it up. No advantage from buying it, but if you wanted to have a shortcut, you can do that. But again, people told us right off the bat that that didn't feel great, and we totally agreed. So yes, we are changing that.
That's amazing. Again, this is something that I feel like a lot of devs, especially people who want to try to do a live service game, you have to be able to adjust, right? Because it is a live service game. So what does the free-to-play model look like for Wayfinder going forward once you do fully release?
Yeah, so if you were to buy into the game right now, it's $20 for early access. And that comes with the base game as well as our reward tower, which is our version of a battle pass that never expires, and it comes with the character. So we don't make you choose between, hey, do I buy the new battle pass that has content, or do I buy the new character? You get them both. So back to your question, when we do that, none of that is changing. We will have a reward zone tower, a reward tower that you can pick from, as well as some characters, cosmetics that you can purchase to the cash shop or earn in game. So essentially what you see right now in early access will be what we have in free to play. We're fully embracing the free and fair that Warframe set up 10 years ago, because Digital Extremes is our partner, and we're really diving into that. So all content, all new quests, all new bosses, all new zones, none of that is behind a paywall. All that will be coming free to players.
Yeah, actually, so you mentioned your publisher. So what has it been like working with the team that created Warframe? And obviously Warframe was something that also did have a bit of a rough launch as well, but then they learned because it's live service. So how has it been like being able to collaborate with them?
It's been great. I mean, a lot of people, when we talk to press upstairs, and they're like, oh, did you change a lot of this game so it made sense for Warframe? We're like, no. Like, we made the game that we wanted to make, and there was a lot of DNA that was shared with Warframe. So it was really a great match once we sat down in a room and they said, hey, we want to publish this game. But we are constantly in communication with them, both from a technical side as well as like monetization side, to give us advice, gameplay. They've done it for 10 years, like I mentioned, so they definitely are the masters of it. It's new for us. We're used to putting out a game like Ruined King or Darksiders or Battle Chasers and then being done with it, or like, all right, on to the next thing. But this is the start. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and they've been really great to help us put that in perspective and be like, no, we'll buckle down, we'll solve what we have to solve now, and we'll move forward and make something awesome.
Yeah, I think that you're definitely on the right path, because not a lot of companies decide to do cross-progression, cross-play, and cross-saves specifically.
Yes.
It's a lot hard to do. It's really hard to do all of those, and most of the times you see games doing one of those. So what was the decision process behind making it all three?
So back to, like I said, the pillars of the game really are to us, an MMO is social. It's always persistent and changing, even though when you log offline, your friends are still there, world events are still going on, and then it's always updating, right? Yeah. So that very first one, being social, is like your friends play everywhere. So not everybody is on PlayStation, not everybody is on PC. So from the start, the inception of this game was really to I mean, games nowadays are about that conversation. You don't just go on to play, you go on to talk to family members or friends that are across the country, and you happen to be playing at the same time. So it was really important to us that out the gate, cross-play and cross-save was the #1 priority for us, and we are happy that we have it right now.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for speaking to me about all this.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, answering all of our burning questions.
Yeah, we're here, and like I said, we've been transparent with the community. We're not going anywhere. We're super excited about the game. The feedback has been awesome from people that once they get into play. So we're happy to bring the game out into free-to-play in 2024.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see it. Thank you so much. Well, Wayfinder is out now on early access for PS5 and PC. We've got tons more Gamescom Studio coming up, so don't go anywhere.
Exclusive. Jeszcze chwilkę. To chyba co, nas zostało jeszcze Lies of P? Chyba tak. County. PC and console wishlist on Steam.
Lies of P is the upcoming Souls-like third-person action game, and I cannot wait to find out more about it. Luckily, I get to do just that right now. Here to tell me all about Lies of P is the game's director, Ji-won Choi, and translator, Ji-yoon Shin. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
So we had you on the show last year at Gamescom. You won a bunch of awards, but you brought some new stuff to Gamescom this year. Tell me what Lies of P at Gamescom 2023 is all about.
작년에도 게임을 가지고 나오셨는데 그때랑 또 다른 게 뭐가 있는지 또 어떤지 한번 짧게 설명해 주시면 될 것 같아요.
예. 이번에 준비한 PA 거짓은 저희가 거의 최종판입니다. 예, 파이널 버전을 즐기실 수가 있고, 하지만 저희가 이제 모든 분께서 즐기실 수 있기보다는 저희가 일부 이제 매체분들에게만 이제 저희가 플레이를 해보실 수 있다는 점을 좀 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
Yeah, this year we brought some new version, which is final version, but unfortunately it's only open for press that you can experience in Gamescom 2023.
All right. Are there some new enemies in this build? Now this is like the final build of the game, right?
지금 가져온 버전이 파이널인데 저번에 봤던 거랑 다르게 또 새로운 적들이 있는지.
네. 이번에 준비한 거는 모든 게 다 새로운 버전이기 때문에 깜짝 놀라실 수도 있습니다. 이거 피해 거짓 맞아? 완전 다른데? 이렇게 경험하실 수 있을 거예요.
So we brought so many new contents in this, so you will see completely different enemies, completely different situations here in this version.
Tell me about one of your personal favorite enemies that we're seeing in the Gamescom 2023 version, and what kind of.
2013년 버전에서 볼 수 있는 새로운 적들 중에 제일 좋아하는 적이 뭐가 있는지.
정말 매력적인 보스가 등장을 해요. 그래서 정확한 이름을 언급하기는 좀 어렵지만은 이번에 플레이해 보시면 정말 매력적인 보스가 등장한 것을 알게 되실 겁니다.
You will get to see a very attractive enemy, which is a very strong one, and we cannot really mention his name, but you will see soon.
Well, this giant robot clown we're looking at right now, it seems like he puts up a good fight. Tell me a little bit about designing these enemies so that the encounters are challenging and difficult, because I know that's something that is important to the philosophy of this game.
지금 이거 보고 있는 이 이거에 대해서 말해야 되는 것만은 아니긴 한데, 그러니까 적들을 이제 디자인할 때 어떤 걸 제일 보시면서 넣었는지, 그리고 어떤 게임 스타일을 기대할 수 있는지.
네. 저희가 새로운 신선한 어떤 경험을 드리기 위해서 많이 노력을 했어요. 그래서 탑 게임에서 경험하지 못했던 몬스터들이 등장하도록 저희들이 노력을 했고, 그 어느 때보다 또 몬스터를 가지고 있는 이야기와 서사에 대해서 많이 집중을 했습니다.
So yeah, we wanted to give the players new experience with new enemies that you haven't seen in other games, and we wanted to give each stories to the enemies, not just the boring normal enemies that you will see everywhere. Yeah.
Awesome. I really like this big sword. Tell me about the big sword. It looks great.
보이는 이 큰 칼에 대해서 좀 더 설명해 줄 수 있냐고. 되게 좋은데.
이 무기는 사실 칠지도라고 해서 한국 고유 전통의 무기를 저희들의 방식으로 개량한 무기입니다. 그래서 특수 스킬을 사용할 때 특히 칠지도라고 해서 그 가지가 7가지로 뻗어나가는 연출을 확인하실 수가 있는데, 그러한 부분들에서 저희들이 상당한 고심을 한 무기이기도 합니다.
So this sword right here is called Chiljido, which is traditional sword of Korea. Yeah. And when you use it with a special skill, you can see 7 different branches will reach out from the sword.
Awesome. The grindstone system is something that you've implemented in this game. What's sort of like your advice to players who want to maximize it and get the most out of it?
게임을 할 때 초보자들한테 싸움 장면에서 좀 이제 조언을 해주고 싶은 게 있다면 뭐가 있을까요?
네. 일단 무작정 덤벼들지 않았으면 좋겠어요. 그래서 보통 액션 게임이라고 하면 호쾌하고 빠른 진행을 생각하실 수가 있는데, 솔로라이크 게임은 정보와 경험이 되게 중요해요. 그래서 무턱대고 덤비기보다는 충분히 사전 지식과 내가 어떻게 할 것인지 전략을 구상하면서 전투를 하면 크게 도움이 될 것입니다.
So he want to say don't jump right into the enemy. So he want to say you need enough information and experiences and good plan and strategy to fight against these enemies.
Now, you know, this is obviously infused with a lot of horror, but most horror games look very dark and shadowy and bleak, desaturated. You're playing with a lot of color and lighting in this game. Tell me about that design decision.
그러니까 게임 디자인할 때 상당히 되게 다크한 모습 많이 볼 수 있는데, 이걸 디자인할 때 어떤 이제 과정이 있었는지, 또 어떻게 디자인을 한 건지.
네, 일단 피노키오의 모험 원작 이야기를 말씀드려야 될 것 같은데, 대개 피노키오의 모험이라고 하면 밝고 명랑한 어떤 동화를 떠올리시게 될 거예요. 근데 사실 원작을 읽어보게 되면은 생각보다 무겁고 또 좀 어른들만이 이해할 수 있는 그런 주제도 많이 담겨 있거든요. 그래서 이러한 원작의 느낌들을 저희들이 잘 전달하기 위해서 더욱더 의도적으로 다크하고 또 때로는 기괴하기도 한 그런 모습들을 담아내려고 노력을 했습니다.
Since everybody already know it's based on Pinocchio's story, which is fairy tale, but if you think of it, maybe there are some who can think it's boring or childish, but like you mentioned before, the original story is already dark enough, but we wanted to add more of color of our own story, so we gave more spices to it and twists to it. So that's how we came up with the dark story, dark mood of it. 베르포크 얘기도.
I love it. One more. 그리고 저희 이제 피노키오의 모험이 사실 이탈리아 원작으로 한 소설이긴 해요. 하지만 저희들이 좀 더 많은 분들이 관심을 가져주기 위해서 잘 알려진 것을 전혀 다른 방식으로 표현을 했거든요. 그중 하나가 베르포크 시대입니다. 피노키오는 피해 거짓은 베르포크 시대를 표현을 하고 있는데 흔히들 베르포크 시대라고 하면은 낭만적이고 아름다운 그런 분위기를 떠올릴 수가 있을 건데 저희들은 이것 또한 완전 반대인 방향으로 어둡고 기괴한 방식으로 또 표현을 하기도 했습니다.
So Pinocchio is originally Italian fairy tale, but we used the original story which is familiar to everybody, but like we said, we wanted to add our own color, so we adapted a Belle Epoque era of France. So if you think of Belle Epoque era, it is a romantic era of France, but we also twisted that in our way, so we gave more dark and grotesque mood to it.
So now is this the King of Puppets boss fight?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about this encounter, because like I love everything I'm looking at here.
이게 인형의 왕인지 그리고 그게 맞다면 자기가 이 캐릭터에 대한 모든 게 너무 좋은데 좀 더 설명을 해줄 수 있을지.
네. 보시다시피 인형의 왕입니다. 인형의 왕이고 저희들이 정말 많은 노력을 들여서 제작한 보스예요. 그리고 이 피해 거짓에서 전개되는 이야기의 또 핵심을 가진
ciekawe jestem, co to jest za druga postać.
몬스터라기보다 캐릭터라고 말씀드리고 싶어요. 그래서 정말 중요한 이야기를 다루고 있는 그러한 캐릭터라고 좀 말씀드릴 수가 있습니다.
So yes, this is the King of Puppet, and we want to call him character, not a monster, because he will be the center of the story. So if you play more and discover more about him, you'll find out more what he is and who he is.
A thing that I really, really love about this game is how quickly the character moves, how agile they are. That's, you know, kind of in stark contrast to a lot of the kind of clunkier Souls-likes out there. How important was that, making sure that the character was fast and energetic?
게임을 보면 보통 되게 빠르고 빨리 전개가 되고 캐릭터도 되게 민첩하게 움직이는 걸 볼 수 있는데 다른 소울라이크 게임에서는 보통 이게 좀 둔감하게 움직이다던가 좀 무기감이 좀 큰 게 보이는데 그런 게 얼마나 중요하게 생각하고 개발을 했는지 민첩하고 빠른 게.
네. 일단 멋진 피노키오가 등장하는 게임이에요. 그래서 이런 멋진 부분을 강조하려면 좀 더 스타일리시한 전투 방식을 표현해야겠다고 생각이 들어서 좀 더 스피디한 전개를 말씀드렸고 그리고 또 저희가 인형인 캐릭터인 피노키오이기 때문에 인형적인 이런 어떤 역동적인 부분을 좀 표현함으로 해서 인형인 좀 더 어떤 사람이라기보다는 이게 좀 더 어떤 인간적인 부분보다 또 초월된 힘을 표현하고 싶어서 더욱더 좀 다이나믹한 전투 형태로 저희들이 고안하게 되었습니다.
So we have a Pinocchio, but which is cool and stylish. So we needed a like speedy and fast movement for it, and also we wanted to give active motion from puppet, which can differentiate it from human. That's how we came with all the motion and dynamic movement, which can show that it's over human.
Awesome. Last question. This is the final Gamescom version. This is the version of the game that will be in stores in a few weeks, right? And an Xbox. Can I keep it? Yeah, I was just wondering if I could keep the game.
그 9월에 곧 이제 발표가 되는데 자기 게임을 이제 해볼 수 있냐고.
물론이죠. 네.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Well, for everybody else, Lies of P is out on September 19th. There's a demo out for it right now. It's awesome. Thanks for watching, and stick around for more Gamescom Studio, powered by IGN.
To nieźle zagiął pytaniem, kurde, nie?
Well, that just about wraps us up for Gamescom Studio Day 2. If you missed any of the dozens of new trailers, gameplay reveals and interviews we've done here at Gamescom so far this
tym sposobem, ludziska. Tak jest. Dzień drugi samego Gamescomu ukończony, zakończony i mamy go z głowy. Dzień trzeci będziemy kontynuować